Chapter 477. Okay, I'll tell you. Jiang Tian's current stealth technique could hide from human eyes, but it might not be able to hide from radar. Shen Mange's reminder was not without reason. He immediately hung up the phone and contacted Chao Shixiang. After hearing Jiang Tian's words, Chao Shixiang was so shocked that he jumped up from the chair. Jiang Tian, are you crazy? That's the Bai family. If you fight with them, the world will be turned upside down. And this is Yan Jin. Yan Jin. What's so great about the Bai family? If they can kidnap my woman, why can't I go? Jiang Tian sneered. His eyes were full of murderous intent. Don't act rashly. Wait for me to mediate. I will give you an explanation. Don't do anything. Chao Shixiang hurriedly said. First, they have a lot of power in the secular world. Their disciples are all over the world. Second, the Bai family is backed by the sword cultivators of Mount Shu, the Amei sect. They are too powerful. The Amei sect alone can suppress the Huaxiaolong formation. Not to mention the Bai family and the sword cultivators of Mount Shu. So what if he is an immortal? If he kidnaps my woman, he should be prepared to be killed. Jiang Tian snorted and hung up the phone. He suddenly sped up and flew all the way to the north. It was the western suburbs of Yanjin, where the Bai family's Yuhua villa was located. Chao Shixiang said hello into the phone a few times, but there was no response. He hurriedly made a call to Xiao Shen, the personal secretary of the chief's special envoy. Secretary Shen, is the chief resting? I have something important to talk to the chief about. It's urgent. After the phone was connected, Chao Shixiang wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said, Elder Chao, you want to talk to me about Master Kong, right? Special Envoy Shen chuckled. That's right. Xiao Shen, you can still laugh at this time. Kong Teichu is targeting the Bai family. This is a battle between immortal state warriors. Chao Shixiang was so anxious that he stomped his feet. Xiao Shen, you are too careless. I've already reported this matter to the chief, and the chief has also given me verbal instructions. Please wait for me at your residence. I'm already on my way here by helicopter. I'll be there in 10 minutes. But you have to inform the military not to intercept Kong Teichu. Don't stop Kong Teichu. The great chief means. Chao Shixiang was stunned on the spot. He was completely confused. At 2 o'clock in the morning, under the guidance of Chao Jianjia, Special Envoy Shen, who was dressed in a Chinese tunic suit and had an elegant temperament, pushed the door open and entered. What does the great chief mean? Special Envoy Shen had just sat down when Chao Shixiang asked impatiently. The chief said that the national level is the national level, and the martial arts level is the martial arts level. A country has its laws, but the martial arts world also has its rules. Since Kong Teichu and the Bai family are both martial artists, let's do it according to the rules of the martial arts world. Special Envoy Shen said with a smile. So, the great chief means to let them do as they please and not help either side? But the Bai family has a great influence in the secular world, Chao Shixiang said in surprise. It's not a good thing to have too much influence. Now the 7 families are like independent kingdoms. Special Envoy Shen smiled calmly and said, in terms of overall interests, the destruction of the Bai family will do more good than harm to the country and the people. Chao Shixiang nodded and said with deep emotion, that's right. The Bai family is the adjudicator family. It's just that they are on the same side and attack those who are not. Over the years, they have caused a lot of bloodshed and destroyed many martial arts families. In fact, they just want to kill people and steal their treasures. If you want to condemn someone, you can always find a pretext. In terms of the rules of the martial arts world, the 7 adjudicator families once jointly issued a martial arts family convention. Martial arts masters can kill each other, but they can't disturb the order of the secular world. Special Envoy Shen picked up the teacup, sipped the tea, and said with a slightly mocking smile, but the Bai family. Let's take the matter of their alliance with the Gu God sect as an example. The Gu God sect killed hundreds of civilians. This is a serious disturbance of the secular order, and a serious violation of the convention. They are slapping themselves in the face and publicly tearing up the contract they made. To be honest, the chief doesn't care much about the disputes in the martial arts world, but the Bai family has touched the bottom line of the country. You know, the chief cares about the well-being of the people. Finally, a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes, and he said earnestly, "Remember, there is no place outside the law in Wuxia. Everything must be under the control of the central government. Now the Bai family is out of control. What you need to do is to cordon off the area within 5 kilometers of Yuhua Villa, and don't let anyone in." Alas, the evils we bring on ourselves are the hardest to bear. The Bai family has violated the law for so many years. I didn't expect that they would provoke Kong Teichu. Finally, they are facing a disaster. After sending special envoy Shen out and watching him board the helicopter, Elder Chow looked up and sighed with a complicated expression. At 2:30 in the morning, the glaring lamppost shone through the darkness. Yuhua Mountain Villa suddenly became lively. Luxury cars drove in one after another, and there were even 2 helicopters that circled around and landed on the tarmac. The news of Bai Jingting's death spread across the 7 major families in Yanjin in less than 10 minutes. Everyone was shocked by the news. More importantly, the disciples of the other major families who came with Bai Jingting to the Gu God sect's birthday party could not be contacted. No one knew if they were dead or alive. This kind of thing had not happened for many years. It could be said that the members of the 7 major families could be killed if they were seen on the street, not to mention being killed. This was not only an affront to the Bai family, but also to the 7 major families of the Adjudicator family. At the same time, the meeting hall of Yuhua Villa was ablaze with lights. Numerous formidable figures appeared successively. Some were lofty and heavy like mountains. Some revealed their sharpness like unsheathed treasured swords. Some possessed overbearing and barbaric auras like dragons and tigers. Some were otherworldly like immortals that had descended to the mortal world. Some had dark and gloomy auras that were unfathomable like an abyss. If anyone who had made a name for themselves in Beijing saw this, they would definitely be shocked and dumbfounded. Among the 7 major families of Yanjin, the Qin family, the Chen family, the Fu family, and the Lin family, who were close to the Bai family, all came to Yuhua Villa to attend the meeting. The family lord of the Bai family, Bai Tianlei, was over 100 years old. He looked old and frail, but he was still as stern as a tiger. He furrowed his brows and said, "According to Jingting's remnant soul, more than half of the Gu God sect's elites have been killed. That person is very powerful, and he will attack Yanjin soon." Qin Zhong, the family lord of the Qin family, said with disdain, "Attack Yanjin? Are you kidding? This is an important place in Yanjin. Do you think he is going to start a massacre here?" "That's right. I have already sent a few police units to guard the area around the Bai family. If anyone gets close, they will be killed." A man wearing a jacket and dark circles under his eyes said flatteringly, looking as if he had been hollowed out by wine, women, and wealth. If Jiang Tian was there, he would have recognized this man. He was Jiang Tian's uncle, Zhang Zhonggua. He was the 3rd most powerful man in Yanjin, and was in charge of public security. In ancient times he was the general of the 9 gates and had great influence in the police force. As for Zhang Zhonggua, who Jiang Tian looked up to in his previous life, in the Bai clan's camp he was just a minor character who did not stand out and was only fit to be a bystander. The Gu God sect is very powerful, but they were still annihilated by this man. I don't think the police can do anything about it. Chen Qingshan, the family lord of the Chen family, furrowed his brows and said, "Besides, why did he kill Bai Jingting? Does the family lord of the Bai family know his identity? We have to find out who he is." Fu Hongxue, the family lord of the Fu family, was as tall as a mountain. He slammed the table and shouted angrily, "I don't care who he is. If he dares to touch the Bai family, he must die. We must let him know that the martial arts adjudicator family is not to be trifled with." He was at the peak of transcendent state, but his words and actions were overbearing. No wonder he was the family lord of the adjudicator family in Wuxia. Indeed, the Lin family's patriarch, Lin Fengmian, had a very dark aura. It was obvious that his concealment technique was superb as he nodded. Back then, the old patriarch of the Bai family was careless and allowed the Yi family to take control of the dragon group, resulting in the loss of authority. We had no choice but to set up the adjudicator alliance, but we didn't have the highest official endorsement after all. Lin Fengmian's voice was faint, but it echoed around the conference room. Over the years, we have been working with the hidden sects to cultivate more and more powerful fighters. Diqing has also done well. The Condor team is showing signs of replacing the Long formation. Under such circumstances, we can't back down. Instead, we have to take revenge 10 times, 100 times over. We have to wipe out the murderer's entire family and leave no one alive to serve as a warning to others. Otherwise, where will our prestige be and how will we convince the masses? Uncle Lin, you flatter me. My insignificant achievements can't be separated from everyone's support. I'm just a representative. In his seat, Bai Diqing's temperament was as graceful as an immortal's. Then he frowned and said, however, Uncle Lin and Family Lord Fu are right. The Condor team has enough talent, the support of the sects, and even the battle record. It will only take us 1 or 2 years to replace the Wuxia Long formation. Bai Jingting was killed at such a critical moment. This is a very bad sign. If we don't kill the murderer, will those proud and arrogant families be willing to submit to us? A trace of sharpness flashed through his eyes. He had the bearing of an ambitious and ruthless person who could swallow the whole world. Especially Hu Qingtian, Wei Feilong, Zhao Yuanquan and the others. They originally belonged to Kong Teichu's Heaven Alliance. I've sent people to persuade them several times, but they didn't give me any concrete information. If they can't win us over, we won't be able to win over the other families. I'm afraid that the Condor team replacing the Long formation is just empty talk. His position was second only to the family lords, and he could suppress many important people and experts. His position was very high. At that moment, Zhang Zhongguo's phone suddenly rang. Sorry. I forgot to turn off the ringtone. Everyone, continue with the meeting. I'll go outside to answer it. Outside. Seeing Bai Diqing's displeased gaze, Zhang Zhongguo felt as if he was being stared at by a devil. He was so scared that his whole body trembled. He quickly apologized, pressed the answer button, and went outside to answer the call. Chapter 478. The police are useless in this situation, but this Zhang Zhongguo got the news from somewhere and brought hundreds of police officers here. He's going to stick to us. Bai Diqing glanced at his back and did not hide his disdain. He said coldly, other than causing trouble, you're useless. The Zhang family of Beijing was just an ordinary family. In the eyes of the average person, they were a giant that should not be messed with. However, in Bai Diqing's eyes, they were just a few cats and dogs that were not worth mentioning. If it were not for his grandfather's request to be kind to others before he replaced the Long formation, he would not have bothered with him at all. It's normal. Although Zhang Zhongguo's ability is average, he's very perceptive. Don't send him too far. Bai Diqing's father, Bai Jincheng, reminded him gently, since ancient times, Lord Mengchong was willing to do anything for me. You must have the magnanimity to accept him. At the very least, he's a qualified guard dog. Oh no. While they were talking, Zhang Zhongguo hurriedly ran in. He even lost one of his shoes and almost fell down. Why are you so flustered? Bai Diqing frowned and reprimanded him. Zhang Zhongguo gulped and suppressed the panic in his heart. He said in a trembling voice, the Weirong district of Beijing sent a large number of soldiers here. There are a few thousand of them. They set up sentry posts and barricades 5 kilometers around Yuhua Villa. I don't know what they're doing. They won't tell me even if I ask. Why are they moving? Everyone looked at each other and saw the shock on each other's faces. This troop was known as the Imperial Army. It was made up of the elites in the army. They would not move easily, but once they did, it would mean a lot. Bai Tianlei took out his phone and dialed Chao Shixiang's number. After a series of questions, he hung up. He glanced at everyone and sneered. He heard that the Bai family has a martial arts dispute with someone, so he asked the Weirong troops to be on guard to prevent people from the secular world from coming in and getting hurt. Hearing that, everyone's face turned serious. Qin Qingshan sneered and said, Chao Shixiang's attitude is very interesting. It seems that he is not prepared to attack the martial artist who invaded the Bai family, but is instead going to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. In the past, he was not like this. At least on the surface, he is still very close to the 7 great families. I don't think we can keep this Chao Shixiang around. We have to find a chance to make him move, or directly defeat him. Fu Hongxue was full of arrogance as he coldly snorted. If these words were to spread out, it would definitely shock a group of people. What he meant was that he actually wanted to replace Qiao Shixiang. However, everyone felt that it was only natural. The few of them present could decide the appointment of the feudal officials, control one or several industries in Wuxia, and have hundreds of billions in assets. If they worked together, it wouldn't take much effort to replace Qiao Shixiang. A cold glint flashed in Bai Diqing's eyes as he said in a low voice, "What kind of person would dare to make a move against the 7 great clans and make Qiao Shixiang break off relations with them? I'm afraid there's only one person left." Under the gazes of the crowd, his eyes flashed with wisdom as he tapped his fingers on the table and said word by word, "Jiang Chu. It's Kang Taechu." When everyone heard this, they were all shocked, and the atmosphere in the conference room turned solemn. Kang Taechu, the top grandmaster in Wuxia, Wei Shuofeng, Lin Zhenyu, Wang Chongyang, Xiaobin Batu the Black Wing, Oyila the heaven-reaching warrior, Golden Scorpion and Apollo the sun god had all died in his hands. Most importantly, he had recently defeated the army in Japan, and was a peerless overlord in East Asia. The 7 great clans were very arrogant. Even famous martial arts giants like Hu Qingtian, Zhao Yuanquan and Wu Yingxiong couldn't enter their eyes. If Hu Qingtian and the others surrendered and accepted the Condor team's invitation, then so be it. If they didn't, then they would just kill them. But as for Kang Taechu, Qin Qingshan, Lin Fengmian, Fu Hongxue, Qin Zhong and Bai Tianlei had never thought that the person who came was Kang Taechu. Who is Kang Taechu? Is he the one who wants to attack the Bai family? Where is his family from? I'll send someone to capture him, Zhang Zhonghua said as he rubbed his hands. Get out. You don't have the right to speak here. Bai Diqing's eyes suddenly became cold, and he waved his hand as if he were driving away a fly. Zhang Zhonghua was such an idiot. Didn't he hear that Kang Taechu was protected by Qiao Shixiang? How could he capture him? Zhang Zhonggua's face turned red. He knew that he had said something wrong, but he didn't dare to make a sound. He walked out of the room in a daze. Why does Kang Taechu want to attack the Bai family? Is it because of the Chen family? Lin Fengmian said seriously. Because of the Chen family? The Chen family has no feud with him. Qin Qingshan was confused. Is he going to kill me? Chen Zifan, who was standing behind Qin Qingshan, trembled in fear. I have heard that Kang Taechu is arrogant and domineering. He has killed many people, and he likes to take the initiative to attack. The Chinese Society of Singapore and the Japanese Cherry Blossom Society only had a slight conflict with him, but he had crossed the ocean to destroy them. Lin Fengmian said lightly. Kang Taechu had killed Qin Xuejiao before. He thinks that even if he doesn't do anything, the Chen family will do the same to him. He has always been the first to strike, so he will definitely destroy the Chen family first. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. My Chen clan is determined to fight to the death with them. We will not rest until one of us is dead. Chen Qingshan's face turned red, and the veins on his forehead throbbed. He slammed the table and shouted. Chen Zitao, who had followed Bai Jingting to the Gu God sect, was also missing. He must have been killed by Kang Taechu. After Chen Xuejiao was killed, Chen Qingshan tried his best to suppress his anger. After Chen Zifan's failed assassination attempt, he swallowed his pride and didn't do anything to avenge himself. But now, I haven't even settled the score with you yet, and you have already come knocking on my door. Do you want Qin Qingshan to kneel down and kowtow to you before you will let the Chen family go? Kang Taechu is out of his mind. Everyone, this matter can be resolved peacefully. Suddenly, a voice came from afar. The owner of the voice was fast as lightning. When the voice was heard, the person was still a few miles away. However, as he spoke, the person got closer and closer. When the voice faded away, a tall figure appeared at the door. Dragon Head Yi, why are you here? Bai Diqing led the members of the Condor team and stood up. They took a few steps forward and bowed. At the very least, they still maintained a respectful facade. The other family lords only cupped their fists and greeted the old man. Bai Tianlei nodded slightly with an arrogant look on his face. Greetings, family lord Bai, I am Yi Zhantian. Yi Zhantian cupped his fists and greeted Bai Tianlei. Bai Tianlei and Hao Hongmei had fought side by side with his father, Yi Tianren, so they were his elders. Zhantian, how do you want this matter to be resolved peacefully? Bai Tianlei nodded slightly, putting on airs. The Bai couple had been famous in the Jianghu since the Republic of China. Hao Hongmei had a charred wooden zither that could play demonic sounds, and she had a withered wooden cane. Bai Tianlei was invincible with his purple lightning azure frost sword. The two of them were famous in the Jianghu. They were known as the heart of the zither and the heart of the sword. Senior Bai, there is a reason why Kong Teichu did this. It was because Dicheng had a girl named Huang Linger as a guest in his house. She was Kong Teichu's lover. That was why there was a misunderstanding. Yi Zhantian's attitude was humble and courteous, saving face for the Bai clan. He smiled and said, as long as you release Huang Ling, and explain the situation to Jiang Taichu, I promise I will persuade Jiang Taichu to make peace with you. Dicheng, did you do this? Bai Tianlei looked at Bai Dicheng with a hint of blame in his eyes. Bai Dicheng looked at Bai Tianlei and said nothing. Yi Zhantian knew that the two were communicating with each other through a mortal will. After a while, Bai Dicheng smiled and said, Dragon Head Yi, although I have been naughty and mischievous since I was young, I would never do something like abducting a girl. If you don't believe me, you can ask Kong Teichu to search her when he gets here. Yi Zhantian's heart sank. His eyes flashed with an almost imperceptible chill. He said with a half-smile, Dicheng, I hope you realize the seriousness of this matter. That is Kong Teichu we are talking about. This is a misunderstanding that can be resolved with a few words. You better not blow this matter out of proportion. Otherwise, you will regret it. He knew that the Bai family was not going to admit defeat. He was afraid that he would not be able to stop this earth-shattering war. Although he was much younger than Jiang Tian, he had fought side by side in Japan. They had formed a strong friendship. He did not want to see Jiang Tian and the 7 families fight again. It had not even been a month since the Battle of Japan. Jiang Tian had fought the army head-on. It was impossible for him not to be injured. Even if he was not injured, the battle had consumed a lot of energy. With so many battles, Jiang Tian's chances of winning were slim. That was why he rushed to Yuhua Villa as soon as he heard the news. He wanted to end the war, but he did not expect that the Bai family would fight to the death. Bai Tianlei, on the other hand, was sipping his scalding hot tea. Without even raising his head, he sneered and said, Zhantian, let me tell you one more thing. Jingting was killed by Kong Teichu. Do you think I should avenge her? Yi Zhantian's heart skipped a beat. He forced a smile and said, she was kidnapped by the Gu God sect. Kong Teichu went to the Gu God sect to look for her. A war broke out between the two sides. I think Jingting died in the chaos. Kong Teichu is not a person who would kill innocent people. This is not Kong Teichu's intention. Zhantian, the Bai clan and your Yi clan have been friends for generations. You also watched Jingting grow up. I originally thought that in your eyes, they were no different from your children. Bai Tianlei shook his head and slammed the teacup on the table. He sneered. But I didn't expect that you would side with an outsider in the end. It seems that you are here to persuade Kong Teichu, not to help the Bai family. This old man is very disappointed. He waved his hand like he was shooing away a fly and directly ordered the guest to leave. Forget it. You are the leader of the Long Formation, the creator of the Overlord list in Wuxia. You are a peerless overlord who has seen the truth of the immortal state. If you help Kong Teichu, the Bai family won't be able to stop you. Yi Zhantian's words were full of sarcasm, like a needle hidden in silk floss. Yi Zhantian's face flushed red with embarrassment. Chapter 479. Juniors' cultivation is simply not worth mentioning when compared to seniors. But Yi Zhantian did not give up. Suppressing his anger, he bowed and said, but this is a serious matter. I think you should think twice before you act. Since you have said so much, I will take my leave now. Yi Zhantian, don't go. At this moment, a cold voice came and a figure appeared at the door like a ghost. Senior Hongmei. Yi Zhantian's heart skipped a beat when he saw who it was. He quickly saluted. Senior Hongmei. Ancestor. Many other family heads, Core disciples and masters also stood up and saluted as if springs were attached to their butts. They were even more respectful than they were to Bai Tianlei, and there was even a hint of fear in their eyes. Hao Hongmei didn't even spare a glance at the crowd. Leaning on a dead wooden crutch, she walked slowly towards Yi Zhantian with her back hunched. She stared at Yi Zhantian and sneered. Yi Zhantian, let me tell you, Huang Linger is in the secret chamber of the Bai family. But we will never return her to Kong Teichu. Senior Hongmei, can't you be a little more reasonable? Yi Zhantian suppressed his anger and smiled. Hongmei. Bai Tianlei frowned and shouted in a low voice. He seemed to be dissatisfied with Hao Hongmei's arrogant attitude, but he did not dare to speak harshly. You old coffin board, your great-great-grandson has been killed. Why aren't you taking revenge? Why are you holding a bullshit meeting with a bunch of trash here? Why are you still chattering here? I think you're just a piece of trash, worse than a pig. Hao Hongmei pointed at Bai Tianlei's nose and scolded him. Her words were filthy and filthy. Hongmei, aren't I preparing for it now? Bai Tianlei's face turned red and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He explained weakly, looking scared and cowering. Seeing this, the crowd did not know whether to laugh or cry. They lowered their heads and did not look at Bai Tianlei's embarrassed face. Who would have thought that Bai Tianlei, the family head of the Bai family, was afraid of his wife? But there was nothing they could do. Hao Hongmei's brother was the head of Mountamei, one of the top 3 masters of the hidden sects. Hao Taichong. Chen Qingshan. What are you laughing at? You guys are also trash. Chen Xuejia was killed and you didn't even say a word. Could it be that the martial arts world no longer belongs to our 7 ruling families, but to that bastard Kong Teichu? Hao Hongmei scolded Bai Tianlei and the others for more than 10 minutes before she was finally satisfied. She looked at Yi Zhantian again. Reason? Fine, I'll reason with you. Although Hao Hongmei was stooped and looked short, she had been in a high position for a long time. She had a huge aura, like a god who controlled the fate of the common people. Martial artists can't be humiliated. Grandmasters are like dragons, and immortal state experts are like gods. The people of the secular world are insects, ants, lowly creatures. Her face was full of disdain. She's just a woman from the secular world, just like an ant or a bug. My great-grandson took a fancy to her physique, and took her as a cultivation cauldron. That's her good fortune from 8 lifetimes, and it's also Jiang Taichu's honor. Jiang Taichu should be deeply grateful, beating the gongs and drums, and happily delivering the gifts. How dare he kill a member of the Bai family? He must be tired of living. Now that he's here, I don't have to go looking for him. Even if he doesn't come, I will hunt him down to the ends of the earth. I will tear his tendons, skin him alive, and refine his soul. I will torture him for 1.5 years before I turn him into ashes. Senior Hongmei, I don't think so. I think the strong exist to protect the weak and fight for the weak. Because the so-called weak are the flame that guarantees the endless growth of human civilization. Yi Zhantian said seriously. The weak are just physically weak. It doesn't mean that they are mentally weak, and it doesn't mean that they are weak when it comes to using tools and weapons. Animals, tigers and wolves have sharp claws and teeth, but they still can't beat human beings. Why? Human beings are good at making use of material things. For example, you can kill Einstein with a single finger, but his brain and theories can create nuclear weapons. Dare I ask, which powerful person today can be a match for nuclear weapons? Yi Zhantian, you little brat, are you calling me a beast? Hao Hongmei suddenly roared angrily. She waved her arms and legs, and a strong murderous intent and anger swept out. Senior Hongmei, I don't mean that. Yi Zhantian quickly explained. That's exactly what you mean. Go to hell. Hao Hongmei glared at him and suddenly slammed her palm forward. Senior Hongmei, you. Although Yi Zhantian had long heard of Hao Hongmei's fiery temper, he did not expect her to be like a barrel of gunpowder that could be ignited at the slightest provocation. In a moment of desperation, he hurriedly countered with a palm strike. Kaboom! Boom! When the 2 palms collided, a thunderous explosion was heard. Streams of qi shot out in all directions. Whoosh! With a loud thud, Yi Zhantian was sent flying more than 10 meters away. He had to use the 1,000-pound drop to land on the ground. His blood was boiling in his chest, and he felt something sweet in his throat. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He was shocked. This old woman was so powerful that she was even more powerful than his father before he joined Hongmeng. She must have reached the immortal state consummation. Jiang Tian had really run into a tough nut this time. Senior Hongmei, I've said my piece. I'll take my leave now. Take care. Yi Zhantian swallowed the blood that was about to come out of his mouth. His face darkened, and he was about to leave. Don't go. Hao Hongmei shouted. What? Senior Hongmei, do you still want to kill me? Yi Zhantian's eyes were cold, and his fighting spirit was rising. Hehe, you are my junior. You should call me aunt. I won't kill you for your father's sake. Hao Hongmei slammed her walking stick on the ground and sneered. But I want you to stay here and watch how I kill that arrogant brat Jiang Taichu. Is Senior Hongmei going to do it herself? That's great. This time, that madman Jiang Taichu is finally going to meet his doom. Humph, this arrogant bastard has no respect for the 7 major families. We should have killed him long ago. As soon as she said this, the eyes of everyone present became excited. Hao Hongmei was too powerful. She had actually made a move this time. Jiang Taichu would definitely not be her match. In the eyes of the 7 major families of Yanjin, Hao Hongmei was an invincible guardian angel. Kang Taichu could dominate Japan, and even defeat an army. However, there was still a gap between him and a living fossil like Hao Hongmei. Hao Hongmei had entered the immortal state decades ago. Back then, she was on par with Yi Tianren. She was from the orthodox Mount Shu orthodoxy. However, she had been cultivating diligently and living in seclusion. After so many years of absorbing the spiritual qi of the dragon marrow and dragon veins, Hao Hongmei must have become even more powerful. Jiang Tian had been in the divine realm for a few years, but he had only been practicing ancient martial arts for a few years. In terms of cultivation resources, martial arts inheritance, experience, dojo, and everything else, he couldn't be compared with Hao Hongmei. He couldn't compete in anything, so how could he be Hao Hongmei's opponent? Hao Hongmei, you old hag. Do you think you can kill me? Fine, I, Kang Taichu, will wait for you to kill me. Right at this moment, a cold voice sounded. Boom. Boom. Tiles flew everywhere, and beams snapped. A figure shot through the roof and crashed into Hao Hongmei like a bolt of lightning. Kang Taichu, you are finally here. Hao Hongmei saw a blur in front of her, and instinctively struck out with her palm. There was only a rumble. With a bang, that figure immediately exploded. Blood splashed everywhere. Pieces of corpse falling everywhere. He's dead? Kang Taichu can't even withstand a single blow. Hao Hongmei was overjoyed, but a trace of suspicion emerged. But when she took a closer look, she was shocked. She rushed over and held the head in her arms. Jingting. In fact, the figure just now was by Jingting's body. Hao Hongmei's mind was in turmoil, and she didn't think of this for a moment. She just thought that she had killed her great-grandson with her own hands. She couldn't help but feel sad, and tears fell like rain. She opened her mouth and cried loudly. My poor Jingting, my dear great-grandson, did I kill you with my own hands? It was a great sadness for a white-haired person to send off a black-haired person. She couldn't bear it, and felt like her heart was being cut by a knife. Hongmei, Jingting has been dead for a long time. Didn't you sense it with your spiritual strength before? Moreover, his body has been cold for a long time. Bai Tianlei persuaded her softly. His eyes were also red. Yes, Kang Taichu, come out. I'm going to tear you to pieces. Hao Hongmei stood up and shouted angrily. She didn't forget to instruct the servants. Clean up Jingting's body properly. Don't dirty it. Alas, he died without an intact body. She couldn't help but cry again. Yes, I only killed Bai Jingting, but you helped me whip his body. Hao Hongmei, you're ruthless enough. You're an old demon. You deserve your reputation. Jiang Tian stepped forward and walked into the hall. He said coldly, hand over Huang Linger, or I'll destroy your whole family. When these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen someone as arrogant as Kang Taichu. He was too overbearing. In the face of an old monster like Hao Hongmei, he dared to say that he would destroy the Bai family. He simply didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Kang Taichu, You killed my great-great-grandson, and you still want that little hoof? How Hongmei was so angry that her whole body trembled. She stared at Jiang Tian with a face full of hatred. She gritted her teeth and shouted, "Humph, let's not talk about the imperial city using her as a cultivation furnace. Even if we don't need her, we'll tear her to pieces and bury her with my great-great-grandson. Your Bai family treats human lives like grass and uses living people as cultivation furnaces. You should be prepared to be killed." Jiang Tian snorted. His face was full of killing intent. "So what if I killed Bai Jingting? Something like a dog can be killed whenever I want. It's just an appetizer. If you don't hand over Huanglinger, I'll continue to kill until you obediently hand her over. For 60 years, no one has dared to provoke the Bai family. You're the first. Very good, very good. Today, this old woman will let everyone see the consequences of provoking my Bai family." How Hongmei activated her cultivation technique and approached Jiang Tian. "Hongmei." Bai Tianlei grabbed How Hongmei and said in a deep voice, "Your aura is unstable in your anger. Wait a moment." "Yes, Senior Hongmei, there's no need to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. There's no need for you to deal with such a small character. This junior will help you get rid of him." Fu Hongshue's eyes flashed with a sharp cold light. He stared at Jiang Tian and stepped out of the crowd, his aura rising steadily. Chapter 480. Yi Zhantian grabbed Jiang Tian's arm and warned him. "Brother Jiang, are you sure you want to fight? This is going to be a dangerous battle." Yi Zhantian told Jiang Tian about how Hongmei's power and combat prowess through telepathy. "Humph. Even if the almighty god of the great all-embracing heaven stole my woman, I will kill them all." Jiang Tian interrupted Yi Zhantian in the middle of his speech. He scanned the crowd with a murderous gaze, and finally fixed his eyes on Fu Hongxue. "This is between me, Kang Teichu, and the Bai family. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Today, I am going to kill all of you. You better stay out of it. Anyone who tries to stop me will die." "Ha ha ha. Kang Teichu, you are so arrogant." Hearing this, Fu Hongxue laughed out loud, stepped forward, pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted coldly, "Jiang Taichu, the 7 great clans are of the same breath and branch, always attacking and retreating together. You offended the Bai family, which is the same as provoking the 7 families. How can we just stand by and watch? I advise you to kill yourself as an apology. Otherwise, we will not let you and the Jiang family of Jinling go." Jiang Tian's identity in the secular world was a secret, but he could not hide it from the top families. The Condor unit had many connections and connections. Their intelligence network was as good as the Long Formation unit. It was too easy for them to find out about Jiang Tian's background. His words were quite lethal, and had also hit Jiang Tian's weak spot, directly targeting Jiang Tian's vital points, his family, friends, and worldly assets. Jiang Tian himself was very strong, but the Jiang clan was a mediocre clan in the end. Their martial cultivation was very weak, and could not be compared to the 7 great clans at all. Little did he know that his threat not only hit Jiang Tian's soft spot, but also touched Jiang Tian's reverse scale. Jiang Tian said, "I don't care if you threaten me, but don't you dare touch my family and friends. Looks like you are going to meddle in my business." Jiang Tian snorted and did not move at all. "Hee, today Fu Hongxue was pointing at Jiang Tian with a face full of disdain. He sneered, but his words stopped abruptly. He was still standing proudly, and his arm was still raised. His finger was still pointing at Jiang Tian, but the expression on his face had turned into shock and horror. What happened to Reds now? Chen Qingshan took a step forward, but to his shock he saw a thin, almost invisible wound on Fu Hongxue's neck. The wound quickly expanded, and blood spurted out a few meters high. Fu Hongxue's head hit the roof, and the headless corpse fell to the ground, splashing waves of blood. What? He killed Fu Hongxue? This is too scary. Everyone's hearts jumped, and they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Then they all cried out in alarm. First of all, they were amazed by Jiang Tian's cultivation. They knew that Jiang Tian had reached the immortal state, but Fu Hongxue was also at the peak of the transcendent state. In their opinion, Fu Hongxue would have to fight with Jiang Tian. But the reality was that they didn't even see clearly how Jiang Tian attacked, and Fu Hongxue was killed. This was clearly an instant kill. Second, they were shocked by Jiang Tian's ruthless means. Fu Hongxue was the head of the Fu family, one of the 7 ruling families. What kind of status and power did he have? Fu Hongxue's status was completely incomparable to Bai Jingting and Chen Xuejiao. He was a martial arts giant, and could be called a hero. These families were very large, and had many descendants. To put it bluntly, the death of 1 or 2 people would not affect the operation of a family at all. They were shocked and angry at Bai Jingting and Chen Xuejiao's death. But more than that, they were angry because their dignity had been violated. But now Jiang Tian killed the head of the Fu family without saying anything. This kind of decisiveness and ruthlessness was far beyond their imagination. Everyone was stunned for a few seconds before they came back to their senses. Chen Qingshan swallowed and glanced at Lin Fengmian and Qin Zhong. He found that they were just as frightened as he was. In fact, most of the family lords were at the same level as Fu Hongxue. Most of them were at the peak of the transcendent state, or half a step away from the immortal state. However, Jiang Tian's ability to kill a peak transcendent state cultivator in a second had frightened them. Family head Bai Senior Hongmei, please avenge the Fu family. The members of the Fu family knelt down in front of Bai Jingting and Hao Hongmei and cried. Their cultivation level was lower than Fu Hongxue's, and now that Fu Hongxue had been killed, the others would only be cannon fodder if they dared to challenge Jiang Tian. Kong Teichu, you bastard! How dare you? Bai Jingting's face changed continuously. Shock, fear, disbelief, anger and many other emotions flashed across his face. In the end, his aura rose steadily, and with a rumble, surging waves of air pushed out like raging waves. What a powerful energy! Is family head Bai going to make a move? The surrounding people were shaken and staggered back a few steps as they looked at Bai Tianlei in horror. He gritted his teeth and shouted angrily, Jiang Taichu, you're too arrogant and ruthless. How dare you kill my Bai family's ally in the Bai family's Yuhua villa? You really don't put my Bai family in your eyes. I said hand over Huang Linger and I will stop. If you don't hand her over, I will kill you until you are in despair. Jiang Tian was as calm as a rock, as if he didn't care about Bai Jingting's monstrous energy at all. Kong Teichu, I admit that you have some strength. You drained Xiaobin's blood essence at Moling Lake, and killed Miyamoto Geniki on Mount Fuji. You should be in the God state consummation. Bai Tianlei surprisingly calmed down, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. This made Jiang Tian admire him a little. For a martial artist, too much emotion in a fight would indeed make the attack fierce. However, in a fight between masters, a slight mistake could lead to a huge mistake. In fact, it was better to keep a calm mind and be able to judge the situation. Bai Jingting's inheritance came from Mount Shuzame sword sect. The so-called sword was light and agile. This was not a fierce and domineering fighting style, so anger points were useless. Bai Tianlei sneered and said slowly, but if I wait for another 20 years, I may not dare to compete with you. But now you are still lacking. Before his voice died away, his body suddenly swayed. Whoosh! With a bang, he arrived in front of Jiang Tian, and directly slapped his palm towards Jiang Tian. This palm did not look like it was made by a martial arts master at all. It was like an old man doing Tai Chi in the park. It was light and there was no momentum to speak of. There was no sparks and there was no sound of sonic booms. But in the eyes of everyone, this palm was like the ancient god Gonggong slapping down Mount Buzhou, containing the power to destroy heaven and earth. Is this the peak of the god state? Seeing this, Jiang Tian was slightly surprised. He took a step forward and punched with all his strength. Previously, he and Yi Zhantian had discussed the peak of the god state. Yi Zhantian had summed it up with 4 words: restrained divine essence. At the peak of the divine realm, it was as if one had seen simplicity, washed away all the impurities, and returned to the original state. All the aura and spirit were restrained within the body, causing one's life to return to the original state. One's mind was free of evil, and one's spirit was free of desires. One's physique was pure, one's spirit was pure, one's cultivation method was natural, and one's Tao was natural. The attack of the God State peak stage seemed to be silent, but in fact, It was a heavy sword without a sharp edge. Great craftsmanship made it look clumsy. The elephant was silent, but the loud had hope. The attack of the peak of the God State was definitely more than 10 times more lethal than that of the peak of the God State. It was far more lethal than that of a master like Miyamoto Genichi, and it was very confusing and impossible to guard against. The fist and the palm collided, making a sound like a tire bursting, but there was no air wave. This was a pure competition of strength, and there was no waste of aura. Thump, thump, thump. Bai Tianlei retreated a few steps until he reached the back wall of the conference room. Then he twisted his burning palm that was about to break and looked at Jiang Tian in horror. He was at the peak of the God State, but he didn't hurt Jiang Tian at all. He even suffered a little. Was Jiang Tian also at the peak of the God State? If Jiang Tian was at the peak of the God State, the Bai family would be in trouble if they offended such a freak in the cultivation world. There was even a trace of panic in his heart. But he soon calmed down. He cultivated sword qi, and then turned it into genuine qi to refine his body. He was not at an advantage over the young man who was known for his physique. Besides, he didn't use all his strength in a hurry, but Jiang Tian punched him with all his strength. It was normal for him to suffer a little loss, but this still made him speechless. It could be seen that Jiang Tian's cultivation was indeed superior to the other 6 patriarchs. Even if Bai Diqing forcibly increased his cultivation with the help of the Gu insects and Mount Shu cultivation method, he still couldn't catch up with Jiang Tian's cultivation speed. He couldn't believe it, as if he had seen a ghost. What? Next to him, Qin Zhong, Lin Fengmian, Chen Qingshan and other masters were also shocked. The others couldn't close their mouths for a long time. This was Bai Tianlei, the patriarch of the Bai family, a peerless master who could stand shoulder to shoulder with Yi Tianren, had cultivated in the Mount Shu sword sect for 10 years. But Kong Teichu had defeated him. How was this possible? This was simply a freak in the cultivation world, like a legend. Yi Zhantian was ecstatic and clenched his fists again. Although his cultivation was not as good as Jiang Tian and Bai Tianlei, he could see that Jiang Tian was at least not weaker than Bai Tianlei, and even had the upper hand. Jiang Tian's performance really exceeded his expectations. His cultivation was simply unfathomable, and he advanced at a godly speed, making rapid progress. What kind of freak was this kid? It had only been a month, but his strength had far surpassed the day on Mount Fuji. However, Jiang Tian was secretly shocked. He was indeed at the peak of the immortal state. Moreover, he had actually compressed his true qi to the extreme, causing his aura to become even purer. It had almost undergone a qualitative change, and was not much different from true essence. He even found out with his divine sense that the true qi in Bai Tianlei's body had taken the form of a cloud. However, Jiang Tian didn't care. Although Bai Tianlei was at the peak of the immortal state, his true essence was still too weak. Not to mention that his divine sense was not comparable to Jiang Tian's divine sense. Maybe when Jiang Tian was at the 5th level of qi refinement, he would have to be careful. But now that he had broken through to the 6th level of qi refinement, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill Bai Tianlei. Kong Teichu, you are indeed strong. This place is too small. Can you come with me to the Xianglu Peak for a fight? Bai Tianlei shot a cold glance at Jiang Tian. His figure flickered, and like an arrow he shot out of the door. Chapter 481. Kong Teichu, Huang Linger was injured, but I've already healed her. If you can defeat us, not only will we return Huang Linger to you, but we will also let you do whatever you want to us. How Hongmei glared at Jiang Tian with her gloomy, triangular eyes. She also cackled viciously. If you can't defeat us, hee, not only will you die, but Huang Linger will also become my great-great-grandson's cultivation vessel. I will also exterminate your Jiang family and crush everyone into meat paste. Old fart, cut the crap. I'm going to send you all to hell today. Jiang Tian walked towards the door. It seemed that they would not know how powerful he was until he killed them. Jiang Tian, be careful. That Hao Hongmei is very powerful. Yi Zhantian whispered as he held Jiang Tian's hand. Brother Yi, are you hurt? Let me help you heal. Jiang Tian held Yi Zhantian's wrist and channeled a stream of true yuan into his body. In just a few minutes, Yi Zhantian's internal injuries were completely healed. Jiang Tian, you can actually heal with inner qi? What kind of martial art is this? Yi Zhantian was stunned. Haha, I have my ways. Let's talk after I finish this battle. Also, thank you for your help. Jiang Tian could heal injuries with talismans, qi, and pills. There were hundreds of thousands of ways he could heal injuries. It was impossible to describe them all in one go. Today, Yi Zhantian came to the Bai family to mediate. Although he did not help much, at least he stood up and made his stance clear. Jiang Tian owed him a favor. Sigh, I didn't help much either. I didn't expect the two old farts of the Bai family to be so powerful. Yi Zhantian felt a little disheartened. He'd once cultivated bitterly behind closed doors for 20 years, but Jiang Tian had caught up from behind, and it had already caused him to suffer a great setback. Today, when he fought with Hao Hongmei, he felt that his cultivation was like child's play and was unable to withstand a single blow, and he couldn't help but feel slightly dejected. Powerful my ass. Just an ant. Don't be discouraged. Believe in yourself. You can surpass them. Jiang Tian patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. With a chuckle, he stepped into the air and disappeared from everyone's sight. Then, he stepped onto his flying sword and turned into a stream of light, heading straight for the incense furnace peak. Let's go to Xianglu Peak to watch the battle. The road is not easy to walk on. Even if we drive, I'm afraid it will take half an hour. Qingshan, didn't you come here by helicopter? Let's take Green Mountain's helicopter and hurry over. This is a battle of the gods, how can we miss it? Chen Qingshan and the others looked at each other, then boarded the helicopter and rushed to Xianglu Peak. Everyone was very excited and shocked. War of the Gods. The Battle of the Immortal Realm. This was too rare. A deity realm expert could soar above the 9 heavens. Every kick and punch carried the power of heaven and earth. In history, once an immortal state warrior fought, the people would be in a terrible situation. They could even destroy a city or a mountain. That was why it was called the War of the Gods. Ever since Heavenly Yi showed off his power as an immortal state cultivator in the early days of the country's founding, he went on a killing spree and started many divine wars to suppress the Chinese martial arts world. This battle is of great importance and it is extremely glorious. We can't miss it. Is Kong Teichu really going to fight 2 immortal state warriors for a mortal girl? Mr. and Mrs. Bai and Kong Teichu are extremely arrogant people. I'm afraid they will fight. If we can witness it with our own eyes, it will be a great opportunity. By then everyone was moved. They all rushed to the incense furnace peak on foot, by car or by helicopter. Their eyes were full of excitement, and they didn't want to miss the battle. In the long river of history, all the experts at the Godrank realm that appeared in the world were the strongest and most respected figures in their respective countries and sections. For example, Wang Chongyan of the Singapore continent was said to be half a step away from the immortal state, but he was able to control a country and become the imperial preceptor of the Singapore continent. Xiao Bin, on the other hand, was only a half-step immortal state warrior and had seen the truth of the immortal state warrior. However, he was already on the same level as the commander of the Northern Army of Russia and had been warmly received by the Russian emperor. Miyamoto Genichi, who had reached the phenomenal success of the immortal state warrior, was able to rule Japan for decades and was conferred a title by the emperor. Even the prime minister and many tycoons treated him with respect. In some small countries in Africa, South America and the Middle East, immortal state warriors could even start wars and control politics. How shocking was the battle between them? How great was its destructive power? It had the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Therefore, all the immortal state warriors kept their skills to themselves and didn't use them easily. Jiang Tian dared to challenge the patriarch of the Bai clan, the leader of the 7 ruling clans, just for a mortal girl. It was unbelievable, and they still could not believe it. The incense furnace peak was more than 10 miles away from the Yuhua villa. Bai Tianlei and his wife used their body art and jumped between the mountains like 2 giant birds. It only took them a dozen minutes to reach the peak. Bai Tianlei panted and looked back at the empty space behind him. He sneered and said with disdain, "Hongmei, what level do you think he is at? I heard that he is an immortal state warrior. I think everyone has overestimated him. Before he finished his sentence, his eyes widened and his mouth opened wide like a duck being strangled, but he couldn't make a sound, because he had already seen Jiang Tian standing on the peak with his hands behind his back. His breath was steady and he stared at him coldly. Apparently, he had been there for a long time. At this moment, Bai Tianlei felt his hair stand on end again. His confidence that was bursting just now was shaken. Since breaking through to the God Realm peak stage a few years ago, Bai Tianlei had been full of confidence, as if he was climbing Mount Tai and looking down on the world's heroes. It was this feeling that made him unable to accept Jiang Tian's provocation to the Bai family and himself, which made him extremely angry. He wanted to fight with Jiang Tian to the death to decide who was better, and let the world's heroes see the serious consequences of offending the Bai family. But at this moment he couldn't help but doubt whether his decision was right. Did he really want to fight with Jiang Tian? Jiang Tian's speed was absolutely unimaginable. Even if he took a helicopter, it was impossible to be so fast. Moreover, he actually didn't notice how Jiang Tian came over. He didn't sense any aura at all. This was really a little too terrifying. Kang Teichu, how did you come here? Bai Tianlei asked in a dry voice and even trembled a little. Old man, you talk too much. I'll kill you first. Jiang Tian took out the little black flying sword and played the sword with his fingers. His fighting spirit rose steadily and he smiled coldly. Storage Dharma artifact. You actually have a storage Dharma artifact. Oh my god, I didn't expect there to be a real storage Dharma artifact in this world. Seeing this, Hao Hongmei's eyes lit up and she stared at the Dharma artifact in Jiang Tian's hand. Her ugly scarred face was full of greed. At this moment she was ecstatic. He even forgot the grief of Bai Jingting's death. Storage Dharma artifacts were the rarest Dharma artifacts in today's cultivation world. They could change the rules of space and store many Dharma artifacts and weapons, making the enemy unaware and impossible to guard against. It was really a cheat. Yes, it's a storage Dharma artifact. Why do you want to snatch it? Do you have to have the ability to do so? Jiang Tian said sarcastically. In fact, he was also a little surprised by Hao Hongmei's eyesight and insight. It was not the first time he used a storage Dharma artifact in a Dharma artifact. But before this, whether it was Wang Chongyan, Yi Zhantian, or Miyamoto Genichi, none of them realized that it was a storage Dharma artifact. They all thought that Jiang Tian was using a concealment talisman or Dharma artifact, but Hao Hongmei saw through it at a glance. Even if she had never seen a storage Dharma artifact, she had at least heard of or read about it. Bai Tianlei, are you a fool? What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get it for me. Hao Hongmei gave the dumbstruck Bai Tianlei a tight slap, causing him to stagger. Bai Tianlei was slapped, but he seemed to be completely unaware of it. He just stared fixedly at Jiang Tian and said in a cold voice, Jiang Taichu, you don't know the principle of not revealing one's wealth. Not to mention that you killed my great-great-grandson Bai Jingting and repeatedly offended my Bai clan. Just based on the fact that you revealed this treasure that can store things, you're dead for sure. Old man, you talk too much nonsense. You two coffin ladles attack together, don't waste my time. Jiang Tian shouted coldly. Good. Kang Teichu, you are really arrogant and ignorant. Today, I will let you see the true strength of Mount Shu sword cultivators. Before his voice died away, he pointed his right hand at Jiang Tian. The long sword on his back trembled for a moment, then broke through the air and soared up like a bolt of lightning, instantly crossing dozens of meters of the void, flying up and down, and stabbing at Jiang Tian from all directions. Clang! Clang! Sparks flew in the darkness, illuminating the surrounding scenery in an instant. Xiao Hei's flying sword and the long sword fiercely collided again and again. An old man, your method of not using sword chi and using the sword itself to attack isn't bad. The purple lightning cyan frost sword is one of the 10 famous swords of Amei. According to legend, it came from the hands of a great master refiner of the Song dynasty. With the existence of magic power, how could his black and swarthy broken sword block it? Seeing this, Hao Hongmei's face finally revealed a trace of praise. This old man's sword technique is so powerful. Jiang Tian could feel the tremor of Xiao Hei's flying sword. He could not help but be secretly shocked and somewhat amazed. Bai Tianlei's sword technique was so powerful. He won by purely using the sword body to attack, but it was sharp and swift, and there was no leakage of true qi. This kind of returning to the original fighting style was many times better than Miyamoto Geniki. But he did not know that Bai Tianlei was even more shocked. He is only in his 20s. How can his sword technique be so powerful? I practiced the true inheritance of Mount Shuzame, but he can block it every time and almost make my sword fly out of control. Suddenly, swoosh. Bai Tianlei waved his hand, and the sword flew back to his hand. How is this possible? A scream sounded. He was shocked to see that the purple electric blue frost sword, one of the 10 famous swords of a Mei sect, had gaps of different sizes on its 2 blades, as if it had been gnawed by a dog. This was one of the 10 famous swords of a Mei sect. It was said that it had been used by the previous sword immortals. It had slain demons and killed God Realm masters. It was incomparably sharp and indestructible. It used to be the sword of a Mei sect's leader, Hao Taichong. When Hao Hongmei married him, Hao Taichong gave it to him as a dowry. But at this moment, it was actually almost cut in half by Jiang Tian's black broken sword. This was really too inconceivable. Chapter 482. Kong Teichu, what kind of sword is that? Hao Hongmei asked in shock. This sword is called Little Black. Jiang Tian said lightly. You destroyed my sword. The purple electric cyan frost sword, which had accompanied him for many years, was almost destroyed. Bai Tianlei couldn't help but be shocked and scared. His heart was bleeding. Silly goose, why are you so sad? That dark and swarthy sword of his was the real treasure sword. Kill him and take his sword. Hao Hongmei gnashed her teeth and urged Bai Tianlei. She was very angry at him for not fighting back. Good. Kong Teichu, you are indeed very strong. In the secular martial arts world, only Yi Tianren could give me this kind of pressure. Bai Tianlei shouted coldly. His eyes were unprecedentedly cold and dignified. He knew that he had met a formidable enemy. However, since you dare to challenge the Bai family, you should be prepared to be killed. Die. You talk too much nonsense. Jiang Tian shouted coldly, and took the initiative to attack. Swoosh. Xiao Hei's flying sword cut through the night sky like a bolt of black lightning. Wind. Bai Tianlei shouted and waved his hands. Suddenly, countless sword-shaped qi swords condensed in the air and gathered into a hurricane dragon, rolling toward Little Black's flying sword and Jiang Tian. This was the majestic power of the peak of the immortal state. He didn't need to use any secret arts to condense a dragon of qi swords with a wave of his sleeve. These qi swords were condensed by his own sword qi mixed with pure heaven and earth spiritual qi. However, they were far sharper than ordinary swords. They could easily penetrate a few centimeters thick steel plate. They were simply invincible. Bang! 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 Little Black's flying sword shot into the dragon of qi swords and broke through them like a string of firecrackers. However, the long qi sword dragon continued to converge, as if it was endless, advancing wave after wave. Xiao Hei's flying sword gradually slowed down, and finally stopped about 10 meters away from Bai Tianlei. The old man has been sitting on the dual clarity dragon pith spiritual vein for dozens of years, and his sword qi is as deep as the sea. The incense furnace peak is blessed by the heavens, and the heaven and earth spiritual qi is inexhaustible. Let's see how long you can last. Bai Tianlei snorted arrogantly. Really? Do you think I only have this sword? Then you're wrong. In response, Jiang Tian only snorted coldly. He grabbed the Thunderfall divine wood and activated it. Thunder come. Boom. Amidst the explosions, bolts of lightning as thick as an arm descended from the sky, like the Milky Way descending from the ninth heaven, striking towards Bai Tianlei. This brat actually knows lightning magic. Bai Tianlei's face turned serious. His right hand continued to move the qi sword to block Xiao Hei's flying sword, while his right hand formed a hand seal. Whoosh! Whoosh! A small iron shield shot out from his chest and instantly grew to the size of a millstone. It soared into the sky and met the lightning bolts head-on. Boom! Bolts of lightning struck the big shield, like silver snakes dancing wildly. The light screen of the iron shield flickered and emitted tens of thousands of rays of light. It held on for a full 3 seconds before cracking and shattering into pieces. One after another, the fragments shot into the ground, bringing with them clumps of lightning. Kong Teichu, what else do you have? Just use it. I'm not afraid at all. Seeing that even the sky-shielding shield that he had snatched from the Lu family fort had been shattered, Bai Tianlei felt extremely pained. However, he did not show any signs of weakness on the surface. He roared with a face full of pride. Really? Then I'll do as you wish, old man. Jiang Tian snorted and took out the shell of the mountain-carrying turtle. He swung it up high and slapped it down as if he was swatting a fly. The power of this attack was truly unimaginable. The mountain-carrying turtle's yellow light flickered, as if it occupied several majestic mountains. It smashed down from the sky with an incomparably dense mountain aura. This mountain aura was the size of a basketball court. It was as heavy as a mountain and incomparably dense. It was like a meteorite from the depths of the universe. What a powerful aura! Bai Tianlei had no doubt that if this attack hit, not to mention himself, even a tank would be smashed into a meat patty. Bai Tianlei and Hao Hongmei did not dare to take it head-on. They stomped their feet on the ground and shot dozens of meters away. Standing in the air, they were shocked to see, boom, in the midst of the loud noise. On the mountainous area where they were, huge rocks weighing thousands of kilograms were directly smashed into powder by the mountain-carrying turtle's shield. A deep pit with a radius of 7 to 8 meters and a depth of 1 meter was formed. Without the obstruction of the Qi sword dragon, Xiao Hei's flying sword continued to press forward and penetrated more than 10 meters deep into the ground. Kong Teichu, you evil thief, I'll teach you a lesson today. Hao Hongmei's malicious eyes were filled with murderous intent. She finally made her move. She slammed the withered wooden cane in her hand on the ground. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth surged uneasily. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, green branches sprouted from the dead wooden cane. They were sparkling and translucent, just like a dark green color. They emitted a dark green light and looked incomparably soft and cute. What a powerful aura! It's a heavenly source divine wood. But Jiang Tian had never been so afraid before. His eyes suddenly narrowed and he was shocked at first, then he was suddenly overjoyed. The divine tree of heavenly source was too famous. Everyone in the cultivation world knew about it. This divine wood was a superior grade spirit wood. If one wanted to cut it, it would need a foundation establishment cultivator to cut it with a superior grade flying sword for 10 years. After it was cut, it would not die for 1,000 years. After it died, it would not die for 10,000 years. After it rotted, its spiritual qi would dissipate after 100,000 years. It contained powerful wood energy and could continuously absorb the earth and wood energy in the world. It could instantly turn into a branch-shaped qi weapon and form a powerful attack. It was the favorite Dharma artifact material for wood spirit root cultivators. Its reproduction ability was very poor. It would take 1,000 years to sprout and grow a few inches, so it was very rare. In the cultivation world, even a foundation establishment cultivator could not get one even if he wanted to. Jiang Tian also wanted to seize the treasure. If he could get the heavenly source divine wood, Huang Linger would have another handy weapon. However, this branch was very dangerous. It was as fast as a flying sword and pierced through the void like a divine chain. Boom, 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 boom. The branch moved forward and easily pierced through the huge rocks and towering trees. It covered a distance of 100 meters in the blink of an eye, and almost arrived in front of Jiang Tian. Under such circumstances, Jiang Tian did not dare to be careless. Xiao Hei's flying sword seemed to be plated with gold. The blade of the sword flashed with a golden light and slashed down. With a clang, Xiao Hei's flying sword cut the green branch and made a sound of metal and stone colliding, bursting into sparks. After a slight pause, Xiao Hei's flying sword cut the branch of the heavenly source divine wood to the ground. Gingjin subdued wood. Wood-type magic treasures were most afraid of metal magic treasures. It was its natural nemesis. Moreover, Xiao Hei's flying sword was not an ordinary magic treasure. It was an item of the heavenly court. It was made of immortal tear black gold. and had been refined by Jiang Tian several times. It was so sharp that it could cut through everything in the world. It could even pierce through tanks and warships. However, when Jiang Tian cut it, he had an obvious feeling of difficulty. This showed how powerful and terrifying the heavenly source divine wood was. No wonder it was called spiritual wood. It was one level higher than treasure wood. Kong Teichu, go to hell. How Hongmei roared. Her orange peel-like old face was twisted and hideous with bloodstains like earthworms. She made a gesture with both hands and activated it again. With a bang, another dark green branch streaked across the sky in a beautiful trajectory. It looked sparkling and agile, but its destructive power was astonishing. A part of the void was shaken to the point of shattering. Whoosh! Jiang Tian stepped in the air and drew a golden light beam in the air. He crossed 100 meters and pounced on Hao Hongmei and Xiao He. Since his opponent's Dharma treasure was powerful, he chose to fight close combat. Jiang Tian had rich combat experience and he certainly knew how to play to his strengths and avoid his weaknesses. This is breaking the sound barrier with his body. Kong Teichu is so powerful. Then, many overlords of Yanjin arrived at the foot of the mountain and saw this shocking scene. They couldn't help but gasp. Humph! So what if Kong Teichu is powerful? My great-grandfather is at the peak of the immortal state. He is dead meat. In the crowd, a beautiful girl snorted and stared at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Her name was Bai Jilan, and she was of the same generation as Bai Dichen. She had reached the initial success of the transcendent state, and was known as the prodigy of the Bai family. She was also a member of the Condor team, and was Bai Dichen's right-hand man. She had also been the one who came up with the plan to send Jiang Tian to Japan. Bang! 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 On the mountainside, Jiang Tian was fighting with the two of them, using his physical body to attack. Rocks were flying everywhere, rolling on the ground. The maple tree that the two of them were hugging was broken like a twig. The whole ground was shaking violently, and dust was rolling everywhere. This time, Hao Hongmei's heavenly divine wood cane and Bai Tianlei's chi blade couldn't be used. In terms of physical strength, not even 10 overlords like them could withstand Jiang Tian's body of Gungjin. Jiang Taichu, this little bastard is too ruthless. Didn't Brother Diqing kidnap a mortal girl? What's the big deal? Brother Diqing slept with her and killed her. So what? He's still making such a big fuss. Isn't he just looking for trouble? At the foot of the mountain, Bai Jingqi snorted. He thought that Jiang Tian was digging his own grave. I have heard that Kong Teichu's family is very wealthy. When the time comes, I will take over the Jiang family's assets. In the crowd, Bai Xiaoyi's eyes glinted with greed. She rubbed her palms together as she drooled. If she could take over the Jiang family's assets, the Bai group's wealth would double. The thought of it made her excited. So what if I take over his family's assets? Isn't it only right? Bai Ji looked like an orchid flower, but she was full of vigor and vitality. Her eyes were murderous. She fiercely said, "A country bumpkin from a small place in Su province, like a dog, dares to provoke the dignified Bai family. He really doesn't want to live. After this battle, I will go to the Jiang family in Jinling City and kill them all." Before she finished her words, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes. She screamed, but before she could dodge, a bloody hole suddenly appeared on her head, and she fell to the ground on her back. Kong Teichu, you killed my descendant again. I will kill you. Seeing this, Hao Hongmei's eyes turned red. Her hair was disheveled and her face was ferocious. She waved her cane and rushed toward Jiang Tian like a demon. Bai Jilan was one of her most valued heirs, second only to Bai Diqing. She was even prepared to send her to the Mount Shu sword sect for training. Humph, I said that if you don't hand over Huang Linger, I will destroy your entire family. This is only the beginning. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. He snorted and punched the wooden cane. At the same time, Xiao Hei's flying sword flew out and beheaded Bai Xiaoyi. Chapter 483. Blood gushed out as Bai Xiaoyi's headless body fell to the ground, sending a pile of dead leaves dancing in the air. Ah! Jiang Taichu, you little bastard, you're too ruthless. You are a demon. I will never forgive you. How Hongmei felt like her heart was being cut by a knife. She screamed like a madman. Her voice was hoarse and tears were rolling down her face. She gritted her teeth and waved her walking stick towards Jiang Tian. It was a great tragedy for a white-haired person to lose his black hair. Although Bai Xiaoyi was not a martial artist, she was the most filial child in the family. She would talk to her every day and they were very close. Although these people deserved to die, Jiang Tian would not delay his battle with the two overlords just to kill them. This was not to vent her anger, but a strategy to throw her Dao heart into chaos and cause her to lose her ability to calculate. She could not help but rush over to engage in close combat, and in close combat, her divine tree of heavenly source would not be able to unleash its full power. This is terrifying. Back off. Bai Jingqi and the other disciples were scared out of their wits. They retreated like stray dogs. Kang Teichu is not at a disadvantage when facing the two immortal state warriors, the Bai family lord and Hongmei ancestral patriarch. He even has the strength to kill the other members of the Bai family. Seeing this, many of the overlords at the foot of the mountain gasped in shock. In the mortal world, except for the legendary overlords of Hongmeng, Bai Tianlei and his wife were the most powerful overlords. They were able to suppress Yizhantian and Huqing Tian. However, Jiang Tian was able to fight the two of them at the same time. Considering that Jiang Tian had taken the opportunity to kill the members of the Bai family, Jiang Tian had the upper hand. Hee, you old bastard. How dare you kidnap my woman? I will kill your disciples in front of you. Jiang Tian struck out with his fists and legs, charging forward with indomitable will. Every punch and kick had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth, causing rocks to shatter, trees to break, and the earth to shake. Jiang Taichu, I want you to die a horrible death. Hongmei ancestral patriarch and Bai Tianlei were enraged. They gnashed their teeth and stamped with rage. However, there was a flaw in their attack. Bang! Jiang Tianquan moved with him. His fist was like a dragon as he dodged Hao Hongmei's staff. At the same time, his golden fist struck Bai Tianlei's chest like a cannonball. Bai Tianlei grunted and took a few steps back. His clothes were torn and his face was contorted in pain. Blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. What? The Bai family lord is injured. At the foot, everyone's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Clang clang. 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 Clang clang. Of the chi of the heavens. Of. Clang. Kang Teichu. Die. Bai Tianlei's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw this. He leaped up and stabbed his sword at Jiang Tian. Clang. Do you think you can kill me with your insignificant cultivation? Clang. 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 The black iron flying shuttle turned into a black light that penetrated the heavens and the earth, carrying Bai Tianlei as it flew 1,000 meters away. Clang. 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 It hurts. Clang. Clang. That's terrifying. Clang. 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 Kang Teichu. How is that possible? Has he surpassed the immortal state? But a month ago he was locked in a fierce battle with Miyamoto Geniki, who was at God Realm culmination for 2 hours. Is ancestor Xian going to die? Bai Diqing's face turned as white as paper, and he trembled in fear. An unprecedented fear welled up in his heart, and for the first time, he wondered if it was a mistake for him to go against Kang Teichu. Bai Tianlei, who was nailed to the mountain wall, was terrified. He was incomparably terrified and astonished. He never thought that he would have such a day. His entire body was soaked in blood. His vitality, blood and spirit power were being devoured and destroyed by the magic formation carved on the black iron shuttle. In a panic he yelled out, Kang Teichu, put me down. Quick. Come and save me. Old man. Hao Hongmei's eyes widened in anger. Shua. The green branches of the deadwood walking stick in his hand crazily extended. There were dozens of densely packed branches, and Xiao Hei's flying sword was sent flying 3 meters away. Then she used her movement skill and flew across the void like a big bird, pouncing toward Bai Tianlei. Boom! Jiang Tian moved later but arrived first. His right hand swatted out as if he was swatting a fly. A gigantic golden palm that was like a millstone descended from the sky. Its strange power was boundless, and it caused the void to tremble and distort. Bang! The gigantic golden palm was as heavy as 10,000 mountains. It could flatten a tank and send Hao Hongmei flying. Blood gushed out of her mouth as she was almost crushed into pieces. Save the old family head. Together. We don't need to care about the rules of Jianghu when dealing with this kind of monster. Today, the Mount Shu sword sect will kill him. 9 elite disciples from Mount Shuamei made their move. They leaped into the sky like arrows and pounced on Jiang Tian and Bai Tianlei. It was a shocking scene. The 9 masters from the Mount Shu sword sect, male and female, old and young, soared into the sky like immortals. They were going to attack Jiang Tian together. This was also a powerful lineup. The 9 masters were all very powerful. They were half a step away from the immortal state, and even the immortal state. They had been practicing sword arts for decades and had reached the peak of perfection. They were the best at attacking, and each one of them was more powerful than Yi Zhantian. But now they had no time to care about their reputation. They joined forces and had the power to destroy heaven and earth. Such a situation had never happened before. Brother Jiang, watch out! Yi Zhantian's face paled as he yelled at the Bai family. It was already unfair for Bai Tianlei and his wife to join forces against Jiang Tian. But now, there were 9 more masters joining forces. Wasn't this a gang fight? Good, very good. The Mount Shu sword sect has always prided itself on being a righteous sect. I didn't expect them to turn black into white. Jiang Tian's black hair fell like a waterfall. His eyes shone brightly. He waved his right hand, and the black iron shuttle flew into his hand. Today, I, Kong Teichu, would like to see what kind of tricks the Mount Shu sword sect has up their sleeves. He stepped into the void as golden light flashed all over his body. The little black flying sword danced and circled around him. He held the black iron shuttle in his hand and pointed it at the sky. The tip of the shuttle was cold and glaring. Bai Tianlei was impaled on the shuttle. His face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead and blood gushed out from his chest. You, Hao Hongmei and the 9 experts were shocked. Jiang Tian's actions made them hesitate to attack, and it was not easy for them to attack. In the end, Hao Hongmei clenched her teeth and shouted, "Kill him!" Everyone rushed toward Jiang Tian. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 9 swords flashed at the same time. Layers of sword chi and sword aura swept toward Jiang Tian, covering the sky and the earth. Each of the sword aura was so sharp that it seemed like they were going to pierce Jiang Tian full of holes. Mount Shu sword cultivators are just so. Jiang Tian held the black iron shuttle with one hand and lifted Bai Tianlei with the other. He waved his left hand leisurely. Boom! Suddenly, the golden true essence rushed out like a giant wave and smashed the sword aura into pieces. The 9 masters were all blown dozens of meters away, like withered leaves in the wind. 3 of them vomited blood. 1 of them had his sword shattered, and the rest were pale. The 9 experts were shocked and dumbfounded. A shapeless golden chi wave was actually able to shatter the sword aura that they had refined for decades. This made their hearts tremble. With a wave of his sleeve, Jiang Tian was able to shake 9 experts with just one hand. However, he was still standing proudly in the air, not moving an inch. Those sword chi didn't even move the corner of his clothes. Such a terrifying battle prowess made everyone's heart tremble. Their expressions changed drastically. Chapter 484. What? Even the 9 of them couldn't defeat him? OMG. Is he still a human being? These 9 experts are all elites of Shushan. They are all experts who have not appeared in the world, but they are no match for Jiang Taichu. Kong Taichu's power is far more powerful than when he was at Mount Fuji. He has increased his power by at least 10 times in a month. How did he do it? Chen Qingshan, Qin Zhong and Lin Fengmian were all shocked. The 9 of them were far more powerful than them, but they were still defeated by Jiang Tian. If they joined the fight, they would have been killed already. Let's do it together, Chen Qingshan suggested. Jiang Tian was a vengeful man. He had already formed a grudge against Jiang Tian, and Jiang Tian would get rid of him sooner or later. His murderous intent was finally over. Who dares to join the fight? What is the agreement? Only the couple of the Bai family and Master Kong are allowed to fight. Before Qin Zhong and Lin Fengmian could make up their minds, many of the Long Formation overlords shouted, and the 4 spiritual generals and 8 divine beings arrived. Seeing the situation, they wanted to help Jiang Tian. Yi Zhantian didn't say anything to stop the Long Formation overlords. Instead, he looked at the Yanjin elites and said coldly, "Lord Chun, I am not an old man. Kong Taichu has already killed everyone in the Bai family. Since he gave me face and agreed to the bet with the Bai couple, Patriarch Chun, don't make things difficult for me. The 9 of them have already joined the fight. This is already unfair. Do you still want to win by outnumbering them? Shame on you." Chao Jinjia scolded. "Humph. Let's see. I have been waiting for Mr. Yi to show me what he is capable of." Chen Qingshan stepped forward as his energy surged. The Yanjin family lords were all at the peak of the transcendent state. If they worked together, they would be able to defeat Yi Zhantian. Besides, they had a lot of people with them. They were confident that they could defeat the Long Formation overlords and help the Bai family. Whoosh! All of a sudden, he leapt into the air like a dragon and threw a heavy punch at Yi Zhantian like a cannonball. "Family head Chen, do you think there's no one in the Sky Alliance?" Amidst the boisterous laughter, an extraordinarily mighty figure shot over like a bolt of lightning. Even though he moved later, he arrived first and met Chen Qingshan with a punch. Whoosh! Chen Qingshan flew back over 10 meters before landing on the ground. He felt a searing pain coming from his fist, as if it was about to explode. He couldn't help but look at the newcomer in shock. "Huqing Tian, when did you reach the half-step divine realm?" Originally, Huqing Tian's cultivation was only on par with his, but just now, he could clearly feel that Huqing Tian's cultivation far surpassed his. Hoo-hoo-hoo. Whoosh. Whoosh. Many figures in black cloaks jumped down from the helicopters that were hovering 50 meters above the ground. Their momentum was as fast as galloping horses, and they leaped up and down like lightning. One by one, silhouettes with imposing manner as strong as dragons and strong as tigers, swept up rolling dead leaves and dust as they flew closer. Then they stood uniformly behind Huqing Tian. Although there weren't many of them, each of them was powerful and above the transcendent state. Even Zhao Yuankuan and Wei Feilong, who were already at the immortal state, seemed to have thousands of soldiers. They were the heroes of the Heavenly Alliance. If you want a group battle, then so be it. We, the Sky Alliance, are never afraid of battle. Huqing Tian took a step forward, full of arrogance. His battle intent surged, and his might was oppressive. In fact, he was incomparably delighted. Before this, he had to pay tribute to the Bai clan and the other clans every year. When he met the patriarchs of the 7 great clans, he had to bow his head respectfully and avoid them to some extent. Even when their juniors faced him, they would look down on him and order him around. But now the tables had turned. He had followed Master Kong and gained a lot of benefits. His cultivation had improved tremendously, and his strength had doubled. Now he could suppress Chen Qingshan in front of the world's heroes. How satisfying! Zhao Yuankuan, Wei Feilong and the other members of the Sky Alliance felt their blood boiling and their battle intent soaring. They followed closely behind Chen Qingshan. Suddenly, a surge of pressure surged out. "Grandpa, let's wait and see. After all, this is a battle between the Bai family and Kong Taichu." Chen Zifan was frightened and pulled Chen Qingshan aside. "Old Hua, after this battle, let's have a good competition." Chen Qingshan was frightened, but he didn't show it on his face. He snorted and ignored the other members of the Sky Alliance, but he didn't dare to ask for help anymore. When Yi Zhantian looked up at the incense burner peak, he was shocked to find that the situation had changed again. "Kong Taichu, let go of my old man or die." How Hongmei slapped the back of her head and spat out a small Jiamu zither. The Jiamu zither expanded in the wind and was held in her hand. The Jiamu zither has been born. This is Hongmei ancestors' natal celestial device. It is said to be one of the 8 treasures of Mount Shu. How Taichung has used it before. It can activate tens of thousands of sword rays, and even the sword Qi Divine General. Ancestor was forced to do this by Kang Taichu. But this time Jiang Taichu is finished. He's dead for sure. At the foot of the mountain, there was a burst of cheers. Chen Qingshan, Bai Diqing and the others were excited, as if Jiang Tian was already a dead man. Jimu Zither? Kang Taichu is in trouble now. Yi Zhantian and the others' faces changed dramatically, and their hearts sank rapidly. Is this the Khanate treasure wood? Jiang Tian's face turned serious as he scanned the area with his divine sense. Years ago, during the battle on Swirling Island, Wang Chongyan took out a Jiamu Zither at the last moment and summoned countless wind blades to form a sphere. However, Jiang Tian's flying sword destroyed the Jiamu Zither and turned it into a piece of scrap wood. However, Jiang Tian also noticed that the so-called Jiamu Zither was an extremely rare divine wood. The divine wood was an excellent material for Dharma artifacts. It could absorb qi and quickly form wind blades or qi weapons according to the owner's will. It was ever-changing and had obvious effects of condensation and enhancement. Jiamu Zither. Jiamu Zither again. Damn, the Bai family has a lot of treasures. Jiang Tian scanned the area with his divine sense and found that it was indeed the divine wood of Deqian. It had a history of thousands of years and was many times more powerful than Wang Chongyan's Jiamu Zither. It was also at this moment that, swoosh, 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 the 9 masters from Mount Shu slashed their swords at the same time. With each slash, their qi and blood would suddenly weaken, as if they had aged 10 years and were about to run out of oil. Some of them were even so tired that they spat out blood. After a while, a total of 9 huge qi swords about 10 meters long condensed in the void. The 9 qi swords were like 9 cruise missiles. They spread out in front of the Jiamu Zither and were full of power. The energy swords actually had a bloody glow lingering within them, and a cold light flickered on the outside. They were suffused with a dazzling metallic luster, revealing their sharpness. Every energy sword seemed to have the terrifying power to cut through mountains and rivers and pierce through the earth. Kang Taichu, I admit that you are the first cultivation genius I have seen in 100 years. In terms of spiritual power, physical strength, cultivation method, and qi cultivation, you are far superior to Yi Tianren in his heyday. At this time, Ancestor Hongmei was strangely calm. She stared at Jiang Tian coldly and said slowly, in terms of cultivation talent, speed of progress, and comprehension of martial arts, you are even more amazing. You are the first person in 1,000 years. It can be said that in 20 years, no, maybe only 10 years, you will reach the peak of martial arts in Wuxia and be on par with many sect masters of Mount Shu and other sect masters. As she said, a sharp killing intent flashed in her eyes. She sneered and said, but your mistake is that you don't know how to judge the situation and keep a low profile. How dare you provoke the Bai family? Today we will fight with our lives on the line. With the natal qi swords condensed by the 9 masters and my natal dharma artifact, the Jiamu Zither, I will kill you until your body and soul are destroyed and you can never be reincarnated. Old Hongmei, why are you talking so much? Look, the sword qi is about to collapse. Jiang Tian held the black iron shuttle and carried by Tianlei. He walked in the air step by step and said coldly with disdain, besides, you seem to have forgotten that your old man is still in my hands. Is the Bai family great? The head of the family is still being worn by me like a mutton skewer. Kang Taichu, you little bastard. The old woman was so angry that she vomited blood. You only know how to talk shit. Old bastard, you must have fallen into the latrine pit when you were born. Go to hell. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian had already made his move. Swish. With a sound, the black iron shuttle was thrown out and carried by Tianlei toward the Hongmei ancestor like a bolt of black lightning. What? Little bastard, you are despicable. This caught the red plum old woman off guard. She was flustered and flabbergasted. She couldn't help but curse out loud. If she wanted to dodge, the natal qi swords released by the 9 masters would be wasted. It was impossible to use them again. If she didn't dodge, she would definitely be pierced by the black iron shuttle. The couple would become mutton skewers. If she wanted to attack, Bai Tianlei was still hanging on the black iron shuttle. He would be smashed by the qi swords before Jiang Tian. Ancestor, let's do it. Old Master Bai is dying. If you don't do it, we will all die. Seeing that Hao Hongmei was hesitating and not making a move, the 9 masters beside her exclaimed and urged her anxiously. Kong Teichu, old man, don't worry. I will let the little bastard die with you. Hao Hongmei's tears rolled down. She clenched her teeth and suddenly pulled back the strings. Swish, swish, swish. There was an ear-piercing sound. As if there was a huge attraction, the 9 natal chi swords closed and shrank. In the blink of an eye, they condensed and shrunk into a 3-inch-long blood-red chi sword, floating in front of the strings. Clang. She suddenly raised her finger. The strings suddenly trembled and bounced forward. The sound was like a dragon's roar. Instantly, this incomparably condensed and sharp blood-colored sword of chi abruptly shot out like a cruise missile, drawing a streak of red light in the air that pierced through the sky. Like a rainbow piercing through the sun, it knocked away the black iron shuttle and shattered by Tianlei. Then with an extreme speed, it shot toward Jiang Tiandong. Haha, don't talk about you. Even if a human immortal is here, I will kill him for you. 9 natal chi swords? You want to fight me with your life? Then why don't you die together? Seeing the blood-red natal chi sword coming, Jiang Tian's eyes were full of fighting spirit. His shoulder-length black hair flew like a waterfall. He slowly punched out. With this punch, the void behind Jiang Tian seemed to become a vacuum. Dark clouds rolled, wind and thunder rushed in, and lightning shot in all directions. His whole body suddenly burst out with golden light. His whole person was like a golden god. The fists that were pulsing with golden light actually burned with dazzling flames, due to the intense friction with the air. Boom. In the end, the fist that seemed to be cast from gold hit the tip of the lifeblood energy sword. Chapter 485. The tip of the blood-red sword that looked like it was carved from agate suddenly paused. With a light cracking sound, a very small crack appeared. Then, it quickly cracked and shattered within a second. In the end, the sword energy expanded to the extreme and exploded uncontrollably. This time, the explosion covered an area of 1.5 kilometers. It was as if several tons of explosives had been dropped. The sound shook the heavens and the earth, and everything was blurry and chaotic. Layers upon layers of airwaves spread out in all directions. It lasted for a long time, and could be clearly seen even in Beijing. How is this possible? In the blurry sky, Hao Hongmei spat out a mouthful of blood, her body trembling. Her eyes glazed over as she stared in disbelief at the scene before her. This chi sword, which was condensed from the blood essence of himself and the 9 masters of Mount Shu, was further condensed and activated by Jiao Muqin. It was no exaggeration to say that it could even penetrate a mountain and kill a human immortal. However, it was shattered by Jiang Tian with one punch. Run! The 9 masters also spurted out blood. They were seriously injured by the backlash of the natal chi sword. They were so frightened that their souls almost left their bodies. They scrambled to escape in all directions. After using the sword chi, their cultivation had been reduced to the transcendent state, and they were seriously injured. Their combat power was even lower, and they were no match for Jiang Tian. I told you, I'll kill a mortal deity even if he's here. Jiang Tian coldly snorted as he stepped through the air. The black iron shuttle directly pierced through Hao Hongmei. At the same time, the black flying sword turned into a beam of light and refracted in the air, killing the 9 masters. In just 30 minutes, the 11 powerhouses who stood at the pinnacle of martial arts in China and awed the world were annihilated in both body and soul, vanishing into thin air. Only the ruined censer peak and the cold full moon in the sky were left to bear witness to everything. When the dust settled and the smoke dispersed, everyone looked towards the battlefield in the sky and discussed animatedly. A member of the Bai family asked, "Who won?" "Senior Hongmei will definitely win." The natal chi sword formed by 9 half-step divine realm masters from Mount Shu, plus Senior Hongmei's attack. No one can withstand it. Even a mortal immortal will die here. Chen Qingshan snorted arrogantly. The leaders of the families in Yanjin nodded smugly. The blood-colored chi sword that Hao Hongmei had condensed recently was too powerful. It was as if it could even pierce through the sky. They could clearly feel the murderous and fierce aura from a few kilometers away. Alas, this Kong Techu is really hard to deal with. Old Master Bai has fallen, and Red Plum Ancestor and the 9 seniors have consumed a lot of their natal chi and blood. I'm afraid they won't be able to recover their cultivation in half a year. Bai Jincheng's eyes were filled with hot tears, and his lips were trembling. This battle was too tragic, and the Bai family's vitality was greatly damaged. They had to pay a painful price. Father, you must pull yourself together. Killing Kong Techu is the same as avenging Bai Jingting and the others. It will shock Wuxia and win over many families. In the future, no one will dare to provoke the Bai family. Bai Diqing tried to persuade him gently, but the joy in the corners of his eyes could not be concealed. So what if Ancestor Xian had fallen? In fact, Ancestor Xian couldn't break through the immortal state, and his life was about to run out. He would die in 3 years. To put it bluntly, he would die sooner or later. However, Ancestor Xian had gotten rid of Kong Techu before he died, and no one would be able to stop him from rising. He was afraid that he would soon replace Yi Zhantian. Ancestor Xian's death was worth it. That's right, we've finally gotten rid of Jiang Taichu. Who would dare to provoke the Bai family in the future? Humph. So what if it's the Yi family? The Bai family is invincible now, and they will have to kneel when they see the Bai family in the future. In fact, the members of the Bai family also understood this. They calmed down and even began to feel excited and joyful. On the other hand, the members of the Heavenly Alliance and the Huaxiaolong formation frowned, as if they were facing a formidable enemy. If the Condor group replaced the Huaxiaolong formation, coupled with the power of the Adjudicator family and the support of the Yin sect, no force in Huaxia would be able to stop them. The 7 great clans were originally known for maintaining the order of the martial Dao. They supported those of the same faction and attacked those of different factions. They plundered everywhere, and they had unbridled and cruel natures of killing. Now, with the support of the hidden sects and the Condor Group scouts, they carried out their missions and slaughtered. With the increase in their strength, they would become even more arrogant and despotic. The martial arts world of Huaxia would be set off a bloodbath and even a catastrophe. Is Jiang Taichu really dead? Chao Jianjia's eyes were filled with hot tears as she muttered to herself in a daze. Previously, she had admired White Emperor City, but after truly understanding White Emperor City's actions, she realized that White Emperor City was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yi Zhantian's face was gloomy. He frowned and even trembled. Brother Jiang was dead. Such a peerlessly talented and accomplished many miraculous feats had actually fallen. The Bai family was too powerful and too despicable. Now Hongming would have to come out. Only Hongming could deal with the Bai family. These bastards are too despicable. They have an unfair advantage. Hu Qingtian gritted his teeth and shouted angrily. Master Kong is dead. Wei Feilong's eyes were filled with tears. The Heavenly Alliance will seek revenge. Zhao Yuankuan and the other core members of the Heavenly Alliance gnashed their teeth and shouted angrily. Humph, do you think you can fight the Condor group with just the few of you? The handsome Bai Diqing slowly approached him, full of arrogance and complacency, and said arrogantly, You're right. Surrender to the Bai family now and join the Condor group. Pledge your loyalty and I'll spare your lives. Haha, Kong Techu is dead. Who in the world can defeat the Bai family? Hurry up and admit defeat. We have Ancestor Hongmei and 9 experts. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. Kneel down and surrender now. The Bai family members approached the Heavenly Alliance as if they were looking at ants. That's right. With the Bai clan's strength, how could a bunch of ants like you provoke them? How dare you follow Kong Techu and fight against the Bai family? You must be tired of living. We're already being merciful by not killing you. Kowtow and thank us now. The elites of Yanjin and the people of the Bai family who had been treading on thin ice seemed to have been revived. They were arrogant and domineering. They pointed at the members of the Heaven Alliance and mocked them as much as they could. Surrender to you? You're not worthy. We'll follow Master Kong forever and never surrender. Don't be arrogant. Today, we'll fight to the death. We'll kill the Bai family even if the Heavenly Alliance has to bleed. Hu Qingtian and the rest shouted angrily in their hearts. They pulled out their swords and sabers. Their aura was rising and their fighting spirit was soaring to the sky. Accepting trash like you is a blessing that you've accumulated over several lifetimes. It's a great honor. You actually refuse? Why aren't you kowtowing and thanking me? Kong Taechu is so weak that he can't even withstand a single blow. How dare you call him the leader? Don't you think it's shameful? You're so ignorant. The Bai family has at least 100 people with such combat strength and cultivation. If you don't surrender, we'll kill all of you in a matter of minutes. We'll even wipe out your families. Under the leadership of Bai Diqing, the Yanjin heroes surrounded the Heavenly Alliance. Their swords and sabers were flashing, and a fight was about to break out. Why are you so arrogant? Where's Huang Linger? Can you hand her over now? Suddenly, an austere and cold voice sounded. Everyone was startled and raised their heads to look. They saw a young man in a white outfit and black hair descending from the sky. He stood on the mountain path and looked down at the Bai family. The rising sun sprinkled down thousands of golden rays, gilding the outline of his body with a faint golden edge, making his temperament even more ethereal, like a golden Buddha descending, like an ancient god traveling in the mortal world to relieve his boredom. What? Kong Taechu isn't dead. At that moment, the members of the Bai family and the other Yanjin families froze as if a bucket of cold water had been poured on them. Clang, clang, clang. Their swords fell to the ground one after another. They were so shocked that they couldn't even hold their weapons and stepped back. Kong Taechu had come down safely. Did that mean that Bai Tianlei and his wife and the 9 top cultivators had all died? How was that possible? Bai Tianlei and his wife were both at the peak of the divine realm, and the 9 experts were all above the half-step divine realm. When the 11 of them attacked at the same time, their combat power was so terrifying that it could destroy the world. However, they were all killed by Jiang Taichu. He had killed 11 immortals with one slash. Before the founding of the country, Yi Tianren had only killed 8 half a step away from the immortal state, and the immortal state warriors in Wuxia during his heyday. He was known as the top cultivator in Wuxia for a century. However, Jiang Tian was able to effortlessly slash his opponents in just an hour. This kind of battle prowess was simply unprecedented. Once the news got out, it would definitely cause a sensation in Wuxia and the world's martial arts community. At this time, the Bai family members were terrified. They were scared out of their wits. Every one of them shrank back like quails. They could no longer be arrogant or domineering. Chen Qingshan, Qin Zhong and Lin Fengmian looked at each other and saw the shock on each other's faces. As the leader of the 7 dominant families, the Bai family was undoubtedly the most powerful, and the 2 ancestral patriarchs were the last trump cards of the Bai family. The death of the 2 ancestral patriarchs meant that the entire 7 dominant families had lost their trump cards, and no one was powerful enough to fight with Jiang Tian. Kong Taechu, where are our ancestral patriarchs? Some of the Bai family's disciples couldn't hold back their anger. They didn't care about Jiang Tian's strength and status, and stepped forward to question him loudly. Cut the crap. Where are they? Hand over Huang Linger now. Jiang Tian's face turned cold. He took a step forward and shouted angrily. He directly slapped that disciple. Kaboom! A giant golden palm that was like a millstone appeared. It was incomparably heavy, and even its fingerprints could be seen clearly. Then, it pressed down like a Buddha's 5-finger mountain. Under such overwhelming power, the elite of the Bai family didn't even last a second before he was smashed into a pile of minced meat. Blood splattered everywhere as pieces of internal organs, broken bones and flesh splattered on the members of the Bai family. It was warm and pungent. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in shock. Only now did they feel Jiang Tian's terrifying strength at such a close distance. Chapter 486. A man at the peak of the transcendent state would be able to command a group of powerful cultivators in the outside world. However, in front of Jiang Tian, he was as vulnerable as a chicken or a dog. If you don't hand her over, I will kill every single one of you. Jiang Tian's eyes were clear as he scanned the crowd. His voice was calm as if he was discussing the price of a dish. Everyone lowered their heads and took a few steps back in fear. No one dared to look into Jiang Tian's eyes. Patriarch Bai, The death of Bai Tianlei and how Hongmei is really a great loss to the martial arts world. The contribution of Bai Tianlei and how Hongmei to the martial arts world, and their unremitting efforts to protect Wuxia will be remembered by all martial artists. Yi Zhantian took a step forward and heaved a sigh. He looked at Bai Jincheng, the current lord of the Bai family, and expressed his sorrow. But immediately after, he changed the topic and said, "However, the bet between Master Kong and Mr. Bai has been agreed upon. The old man hopes that the Jiang family will honor the bet and release Huang Linger." "What?" Bai Jincheng's body trembled and his face turned pale. His heart was filled with grief, anger, shock, and disbelief. He was unwilling to accept such a defeat. The Bai family's status was too high, and their strength was too strong. Under normal circumstances, if someone or some force had a conflict or dispute with the Bai family, upon hearing the name of the Bai family, they would retreat and lay low. They would even come to the Bai family with generous gifts and apologies. More often than not, the Bai family was the one who initiated the conflict and slaughtered everyone. Therefore, the Bai family was notorious in the martial arts community of Wuxia. If there were people who didn't know what was good for them and wanted to fight to the death with the Bai family didn't even need to use the trump cards of the first and second generation. They only needed to send out a few third and fourth generation disciples, and that would be enough to make them throw away their helmets and armor and suffer a crushing defeat. In 100 years, no one in Wuxia had dared to challenge the Bai family, and the Bai family had never suffered a loss. But now, 2 patriarchs and 9 ace-level masters had died, and the Bai family had suffered a great loss at the hands of Jiang Tian. Its vitality had been greatly damaged, and its foundation had been shaken. "Yi Zhantian, the grudge has already been set. What if Jiang Taichu attacks the Bai clan after we hand him over?" Bai Diqing suppressed the fear in his heart, and took a step forward and asked coldly. After witnessing Jiang Tian's monstrous strength, he was terrified as well. His soul almost left his body, but he had no choice but to stand out. "Jiang Taichu once fought side by side with me, so I can still make this promise. If the Bai family hands over Huang Linger, this matter will be over. We will definitely not fight again." Yi Zhantian looked at Jiang Tian and said in a deep voice, "Bai Jincheng, how long are you going to drag this out? If you don't, I will kill one of you every minute." Jiang Tian glared at the ashen-faced Bai Jincheng and scolded him coldly. A powerful wave of soul energy swept across the room. Bai Jincheng felt as if his soul was about to explode. His body trembled and he lowered his head. He saluted respectfully and said in a trembling voice, "Fine, fine. Grandmaster Zhang's martial prowess is godlike, and his magic power is monstrous. My Bai clan admits defeat. Men, bring Miss Huang Linger out of the dungeon." Immediately, a core member of the Bai family rushed out to release Huang Linger, who was hidden and trapped by the formation. The other elites of the Bai family, including Chen Qingshan, Qin Zhong, Lin Fengmian and other family lords, were all trembling in grief. They had never imagined that the final victor would be Jiang Tian. Even Elder Bai, his wife, and the 9 great elites had fallen, so who would be able to subdue Jiang Taichu in the future? For a long time, they felt that this was a nightmare. They didn't dare to believe it. Now that Bai Jincheng had lowered his head, they finally realized that it was all real. The Bai family had lost. Master Kong, although Huang Linger's life is not in danger, she was injured and suffered a lot. We have offended Master Kong, and now we know that we were wrong. I only ask that Mr. Jiang take my life for Dragon Head Ye's sake, and let the rest of the Bai family live." Bai Jincheng's body trembled, but his face was resolute as if he was ready to die. He had no choice but to do so. Jiang Taichu's strength was too strong. His lover had been kidnapped, and his righteous indignation would be hard to quell. He had to let Jiang Taichu vent his anger. Otherwise, there would be no end to the trouble. "Father! Uncle! Lord!" Many members of the Bai family exclaimed in disbelief. They had never thought that Bai Jincheng would beg Jiang Tian to let him go. Bai Jincheng ignored them. He took a small bag from his assistant and took out a stack of documents. With a pale face he said, "I signed this document at Leeson Law Firm. 20% of the shares of Yuhua Villa and Bai Group will be given to Mr. Jiang. This is to express our sincere apology. We only ask that Master Kong show mercy and let the Bai family go. Bai Jincheng was not an idiot. He knew how terrifying Jiang Tian was, so he had prepared for both sides from the beginning. However, he never thought that this document would be used immediately. The Bai family group secretly held shares in many companies and had assets in the trillions. It could be considered one of the biggest tycoons in China. The Bai family only controlled 25% of the company's shares. Giving away 20% of the company's shares was worth hundreds of billions. And Jiang Tian would also be the biggest shareholder of the Bai group, the person behind the scenes. The Bai family would fall from being one of the top families in Wuxia and become a second-rate family. Although Bai Diqing and the others were heartbroken, they didn't dare to say a word. Jiang Tian's power was not something they could compare with. Chen Qingshan and the others were even more frightened. It was one thing to give away the shares, but what was even more painful was that Yuhua Mountain Villa had the dragon marrow spirit vein. This was a priceless paradise that couldn't be bought with money. Not enough. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian said lightly, "What? Is Mr. Jiang still unwilling to let the Bai family go even though the old man has given in?" Bai Jincheng couldn't believe it. His body trembled and his face turned pale. His gray hair fluttered in the morning breeze as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. The others were also shocked. Jiang Tian paced slowly as if he was taking a stroll in the park. He said lightly, "I, Kong Te Chu, may have killed many people in my life, but I have never involved the innocent. The Bai family and the Chen family once planned to send me to the Cherry Blossom Festival in Japan to kill me. Someone has to take the blame. I have only killed you and Chen Qingshan. I have done my best." Then he pointed his finger at the air. Bang! Chen Qingshan's head exploded before he could beg for mercy. Red and white matter sprayed all over the ground. His headless body flew out and a trail of blood was left behind. "Master Kong doesn't need to do it. The old man killed himself, but Master Kong, please spare the others." Bai Jincheng pulled out a shiny dagger from his waist and slid it across his neck. Blood spurted out like a fountain. "No revenge. You can't take revenge. Not even the people of Shu Mountain. From now on, the Bai family will pass down the teachings to the next generation. No one is allowed to cultivate or fight with others." He staggered and fell to the ground, shouting with the last of his strength. Then his body twitched violently and stopped moving in the blink of an eye. He died suddenly, leaving his body intact. Then Jiang Tian looked at Bai Diqing, who was trembling pale and in extreme pain and fear. "Not to mention that you kidnapped my woman. You used a living person as a cauldron and used goo worms to forcefully increase your cultivation. You also deserve to die. You have killed at least 80 martial artists, if not 100. Today, I will not kill you, but I will destroy all your cultivation and deprive you of 50 years of your life as punishment." Jiang Tian grabbed Bai Diqing's chest and used the demonic sky-devouring art. Suddenly, Bai Diqing's qi and blood surged towards Jiang Tian like a flood. Everyone saw with disbelief that his jet-black hair had turned white in the blink of an eye, and his fair and plump cheeks were collapsing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Wrinkles grew on his face, and age spots covered his face. His tall, straight, and extraordinarily handsome figure was swiftly hunched down. In the end, he actually became a weak and feeble old geezer that was coughing and gasping for breath without end. Then, Jiang Tian glanced at the frightened members of the Bai family and said coldly, "The Bai family has schemed against me many times and is very annoying. From now on, the members of the Bai family are not allowed to do business in Wuxia. All of you must emigrate overseas. Do you agree?" Even though the members of the Bai family were shocked and angry, they had to submit under Jiang Tian's overwhelming pressure. Jiang Tian's 3 moves could be said to be reasonable, but they were also tit for tat, striking everyone's weak points, intimidating the crowd. Bai Jincheng and Chen Qingshan had schemed against Jiang Tian many times, and wanted to use the East Asian people to get rid of Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian should kill the 2 of them, and it also intimidated the other 6 families. Bai Diqing considered himself to be a cultivation genius. He was ambitious and did not hesitate to kidnap and kill people, using the goo cauldron cultivation technique to forcefully raise his cultivation. Thus, Jiang Tian crippled his cultivation and took away his lifespan. turning him into a powerless old man. The Bai family had great influence in the mortal world. They controlled the political and commercial power, and they had a high status. These descendants of the Bai family enjoyed great wealth and glory. Therefore, Jiang Tian took everything away and chased them out of Wuxia. This was equivalent to flattening the land where they could rise from the ashes. This was worse than killing them. We surrender. Realizing this, the members of the Bai family felt a chill in their hearts. Jiang Tian kept his promise and didn't wipe out the Bai family, giving face to Yi Zhantian, so it wouldn't cause too much of a stir in the mortal world. However, he took away the hope of the Bai family, which was their most precious thing, and it made them feel worse than death. Killing people was nothing more than a nod of the head. This person was truly a living demon. We have no objection to Master Kang's decision. Yi Zhantian was the first to express his opinion, and stood on Jiang Tian's side. That's reasonable and reasonable. We can testify. Red Envoy, Secretary Shen and the others nodded in agreement. Then, the members of the Bai family announced that they would leave Yuhua Villa in 3 days, and all of them would leave Wuxia in 5 days. On the way back, many big shots in Yanjin looked solemn, as if they had just had a nightmare and couldn't come back to their senses for a long time. Some of them were like Mrs. Xianglin, murmuring over and over again, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" The 11 most powerful overlords were all half immortal state warriors, and immortal state warriors. Sigh, the sky of Yanjing is finally going to change. Qin Zhong sighed faintly, his face lonely and sad. Chapter 487. They had been plotting for decades to suppress Hongmeng and dominate the martial arts world in Wuxia. However, Jiang Tian had destroyed their plan overnight. It could be imagined that after the Bai clan was destroyed, the 6 great clans were completely suppressed by Jiang Tian, and were unable to regain their prestige. He had killed 11 immortal state warriors in a row. The 6 families didn't even have the courage to challenge him anymore. Many patriarchs and experts nodded their heads with stupefied expressions. Only Chen Zifen was elated. Now that my dad is dead, I will be able to take over. He's ambitious. Since Jiang Taichu didn't kill me, there's a possibility for me to curry favor with him. I'll be the first to take the initiative to curry favor with Grandmaster Jiang. If I become his lackey, who will dare to provoke me? Uncle, are we going to be killed? Or are we going to be turned into a half-human? An off-road vehicle drove out of Yuhua Manor and sped along the mountain road. A group of young girls were sitting in the car. Their faces were pale, and their eyes were filled with fear. They had seen the girls who had been imprisoned with them being taken out of the prison and thrown into the dungeon. They had become old women and died on the spot. No. Master Kong saved you. The Bai family is finished. The driver let out a wry smile and heaved a sigh. He used to be a guard in the Bai family's dungeon, and was a transcendent state warrior. However, the Bai family had been disbanded and all the guards were dismissed. This was his last mission. What? We're saved. The girls were dumbfounded. They had been imprisoned for a long time, and knew how terrifying the Bai family was. How dare someone provoke them? Yes, that Grandmaster Jiang is Miss Huang Linger's friend. He has the ability to fly in the sky and cut down mountains with one hand. He fought his way from the Gu God sect in the 100,000 mountains all the way to Beijing. The driver glanced at Huang Linger and sighed with emotion. He rambled on about the battle he had heard about last night. How is that possible? Did you say he can fly? Isn't this too miraculous? Many young girls exclaimed in disbelief. Suddenly, a figure appeared in the sky like an immortal. He was wearing a white robe and his black hair was flowing like a waterfall. He slowly landed on the mountain road, and walked with his hands behind his back. His white robe fluttered in the wind like a flag. This is simply a peerless hero like the great sage, heaven's equal, riding a 5-colored auspicious cloud to save people. When the girls saw this, their eyes lit up and they almost drooled. This scene had only appeared in their dreams. It's really him. He came to save me. Huang Linger, who was in the carriage, smiled with tears in her eyes. Her pure eyes pierced through the tears and the longing of her past and present life, and fell on Jiang Tian, who was walking over quickly. It was as if she was unwilling to move her eyes away for 3 lifetimes. December 20th, 2009 Inch's order to save Huanglinger. Kong Teichu destroyed the Gu God sect and killed the 9 ancestral patriarchs of the Bai family and 11 immortal state warriors. The news shocked the world and shocked Wuxia. In fact, the first ones to receive the news weren't the martial arts world, but the political and business families in Yanjin. After all, the battle took place on Fragrant Mountain, right under the emperor's nose. People would be uneasy if they knew about it, so they asked the government to keep it a secret. Therefore, a secret news was first spread among the upper class of Yanjin. Everyone was speechless after hearing the news. They couldn't believe it. Because the news was, on Xianglu Peak, 2 patriarchs and 9 experts of the Bai family fell overnight. The head of the Chen family, Chen Qingshan, was killed. The head of the Bai family, Bai Jincheng, committed suicide. Bai Dicheng's cultivation was crippled. The Condor team was disbanded. The entire Bai family left Wuxia. The Bai family was destroyed? How was that possible? Many people couldn't believe it and thought that the news was ridiculous. It could be said that the Bai family was like a mighty god in the eyes of many ordinary families in Yanjin. Not to mention being able to befriend them, just being able to talk to them was already a great blessing and opportunity. By relying on the Bai family, if one were to mix in with the bureaucracy, one would be able to rise all the way to the top. Becoming a high-ranking official would not be a problem. If he was in business, he would be successful in every endeavor and become one of the wealthiest people in China's industry. That was a family with 300 years of history, which was longer than the history of China. And yet it had been destroyed. If it's true, this is a great change in Yanjin. It might even change the entire structure of Yanjin. This is one of the biggest changes in Yanjin since the founding of the country. Keep an eye on it. For a moment, the entire Yanjing city was in a state of chaos. Countless big shots were paying close attention and trying to find out more information. They wanted to take advantage of the change and gain benefits. Countless rumors were spreading. At the same time, Jiang Tian was sightseeing with Huang Linger at Fragrant Mountain in Beijing, trying to calm her down. Even though she had been stabbed on Mount Fulong, she wasn't too scared because the Bai family didn't hurt her after they imprisoned her. They even bandaged and treated her wounds. However, Jiang Tian was still worried. It was best to change the environment and take a walk. Professor Jiang, so Sister Qing'er is right. Cultivation can really make one fly. When she taught me the cultivation method, she said that it could be done like this. I thought she was exaggerating. Professor Jiang, the maple leaves here are so beautiful. Can you take a picture for me? Professor Jiang, who exactly are you? Why do I feel like I know you from before? Professor Jiang. Huang Linger's hair was tied up in a bun. She was wearing a bright yellow woolen windbreaker with a high-collared sweater inside, which made her waist look even slimmer and her breasts look even bigger. She was wearing a pair of half-heeled black leather shoes and was jumping around in the forest like a cheerful bird, chirping and chirping. Jiang Tian looked at the bright and beautiful smile on her clear little face and said with a faint smile, "These are all true. If you want, you can also become such a powerful person." Really? That's great. Huang Linger's face was full of gratitude, but then her pretty face turned red. She lowered her head and said, "Professor Jiang, I'm just a little girl who weeds and fertilizes your medicine field. Why would you offend the Bai family for me? I heard that they are very powerful and scary. Is it worth it?" "It's worth it." Jiang Tian smiled and didn't explain further. He had made up his mind to leave no regrets in his life. After resting for a few days, he would return to Jinlin City and talk to Qing'er about recovering her memory. Master Kong. When Jiang Tian arrived at the foot of the fragrant hill, Chen Zifen came up to him and bowed respectfully. Zifen greets Master Kong. The Bai family is so slow in handing over their assets. Do you want me to hurry them up? What if they don't hand over their assets? Jiang Tian looked at him curiously. This brat was truly a ruthless, cold-blooded, and heartless person. Chen Zifen had killed his father with his own eyes. However, he didn't seem sad at all. Instead, he stuck close to Chen Zifen like a loyal dog. Kill him. Isn't this going against Master Kong? Anyone who dares to go against Master Kong must die. Chen Zifen said with a vicious grin. Behind him were a dozen burly men in black outfits. Jiang Tian looked at them and found that they were all internal force users. There were also a few transcendent state masters. Jiang Tian wondered where Chen Zifen got them from. Alright, so your zodiac is an evil dog. Alright, I'll leave this matter to you. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently and floated away. The Bai Group was one of the top 3 tycoons in Wuxia. It was worth nearly $1 trillion. The transfer of such a large family's assets was earth-shattering. Jiang Tian didn't want to deal with it directly, so he left it to Chen Zifen. Master Kong, come stay at my house. I will go and take back the Yuhua Mountain Villa. Chen Zifen rubbed his hands together as his blood boiled. He opened the door of a Mercedes-Benz off-road vehicle and hopped onto the mountain. Let's go. Let's go. This villa belongs to Master Kong. From now on it has nothing to do with you. A few hours later, Chen Zifen led a group of men to the Yuhua Mountain Villa and shouted at a middle-aged man in a black suit. The man's name was Bai Yujing. He was Bai Jincheng's younger brother and Bai Xiaoyi's father. Although he was not a cultivator, he was an expert in business operations. He used to be the vice-chairman of the Baisher Group. Normally, he had a high status and was very influential in the secular world. He had never been looked down upon like this before. Seeing this, he couldn't help but be furious. He shouted, Chen Zifen, what are you doing? How dare you treat me like this? According to seniority, you should call me uncle. Bah. That was when the Bai family was still powerful. Now, the Bai family's second ancestral patriarch and 9 elites are dead. Do you think you are worthy to be my uncle? Chen Zifen rushed forward and slapped him a few times. He swayed like a willow branch in the wind as blood spurted out of his mouth. Then he kicked him and sent him flying 5 or 6 meters away. This fellow could not even withstand a single blow from Jiang Tian. However, when facing Bai Yujing, who had no cultivation at all, he was in an overwhelming position. With one kick he broke 3 of Bai Yujing's ribs. Chen Zifen, you have gone too far. Ouch, it hurts so much. Bai Yujing clutched her chest and screamed in agony. Enough. One of Bai Yujing's uncles, Bai Lingfei, walked out slowly. He slammed the table and shouted, Chen Zifen, you have only reached the transcendent state a few days ago. How dare you act so presumptuously in front of me? He was a martial artist at the peak of the transcendent state. He was the butler of Yuhua Mountain Villa and Hao Hongmei's guardian. Therefore he was not afraid of Chen Zifen's men. He had been in a high position for a long time, and his cultivation was powerful. When he shouted, a powerful aura blasted out of him. Chen Zifen didn't dare to hit him anymore. Chen Zifen took a few steps back and said, I am here to take over the assets on behalf of Master Kong. This is a contract. It is written clearly in black and white. I will give you 3 days to leave. Don't make me do it. In fact, he was a little scared. Just as he was about to leave, a group of people suddenly rushed into the room. Bai Lingfei's face changed as soon as he saw the leader. He shouted, Lord Qin, Lord Lin, why are you here? Chapter 488. The people in front of him were the family lords of the other 5 adjudicator families in Yanjin. Each of them was at the peak of the transcendent state, and some of them had even reached the half-immortal state. He was no match for them. Bai Yujing, why are you still here? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for Master Kong to come and kill you? Qin Zhong sneered and said viciously, From now on all the assets here belong to Master Kong. You should leave now. We don't want to hurt you either. What? You want to fight the Bai family? We have been friends for decades. Bai Lingfei's face paled as he couldn't believe what he had just heard. The Bai family had lost the battle at Xianglu Mountain, but Bai Lingfei and the remaining members of Bai Yujing had thought of a plan. The Bai family's assets were too large, and it would take at least a year for them to take it over. They could rope in the other 6 great clans and make a comeback, killing Jiang Tian for revenge. However, he did not expect that the 6 great clans would all stand on Jiang Tian's side in an instant. This was really the case where the bigger fist was the truth. The winner took all. Don't talk about relationships with me in front of justice. Chen Zifen snorted and said with disdain. When martial artists do things, chivalry comes first. Naturally, a promise is worth 1,000 gold, and a promise must be fulfilled. You promised me back then. So, are you going back on your word now? Then let's do it together. When it came to being shameless, Chen Zifen was definitely the #1 person in Beijing. Moreover, he was hypocritical enough. His words were full of tricks. What Zifen said makes sense. No wonder Master Kong appreciates you so much. Cut the crap. Let's do it. Kick the Bai family out of the house. Boom. Boom. The patriarch's auras rose like dragons, and their killing intent filled the air as they closed in on the Bai family. What? Bai Lingfei's heart skipped a beat, and he took a step back. The family lords in front of him were the most powerful overlords in Yanjin, and they had a lot of connections in the military, various ministries and the judiciary. When they cooperated with the Bai family, everyone was in harmony. However, if they fought together, the Bai family, which had already suffered a great loss, would definitely not be their match. They would be devoured until not even dregs would be left. Not even a few would be left alive. With that thought in mind, Bai Lingfei's face turned pale. He heaved a sigh and said, "Fine, let's go." After Bai Lingfei left, Qin Zhong cracked a smile and asked, "Zifen, have you made friends with Master Kong?" "Yes. I am Master Kang's representative in Yanjin." Chen Zifen's face lit up with pride. "I assure, Nephew Zifen, you're really promising. To be able to work for Grandmaster Jiang, this is a great blessing. Zifen, you must do your best." "Zifen, we support you to take over the Chen family and become the family lord. However, you have to put in a good word for us in front of Grandmaster Jiang." Qin Zhong and the other patriarchs immediately looked up to Chen Zifen and offered him some good words. What happened at Yuhua Villa was only the beginning. After all, there was a spirit vein there, and it was a paradise for cultivation. The same thing happened in Yanjin and Wuxia. At the headquarters of the Bai's group, the Chuangdu group and the other branches of the Bai family, Jiang Tian was too powerful. Even Chen Zifen, whose father had been killed, didn't dare to take revenge. Instead, he chose to submit. The other families were even more terrified. They immediately followed suit and chose to submit to Jiang Tian. Helping Jiang Tian deal with the Bai family was to show their attitude. Not everyone in the Bai family was willing to submit to Chen Zifen. Some of them tried to fight back, but after the battle at Xianglu Peak, most of the powerful cultivators were killed. The rest of them were ordinary people who were below the transcendent state, or had no cultivation at all. They were no match for Chen Zifen and the 5 major families. Moreover, the Heavenly Alliance was still there. Some of those who resisted were beheaded or thrown out of the door. They used to be the descendants of the Bai family, and the 6 major families didn't dare to provoke them. However, who would be nice to them now? In just 2 days, under the gnawing and tearing of these tigers and wolves, all the properties of the Bai family had basically fallen into the hands of Jiang Tian. On the 3rd night after the battle at Xianglu Peak, the old house of the Zhang family in Yanjin was ablaze with lights. Lampposts pierced through the dark sky and luxury cars drove in one after another. The core members of the family were called back by Zhang Jinghua for an emergency meeting. "Danfeng, what's going on? There are still a few days before the annual family meeting. Is it earlier this year?" Zhang Qingji, the 3rd son of the Zhang family, was standing under the eaves of the hall, holding a purple sand teacup made by the master craftsman of the Yixing purple sand teapot. Sipping the fragrant Mount Lu cloud tea, he looked at a young man with an extraordinary bearing who got off an Audi A8 and asked curiously. If Jiang Tian was here, he would recognize this young man in a suit. He was his cousin Zhang Danfeng, who had brought him endless humiliation and disdain in his previous life. "I don't know what's going on, but my father said it's not the annual family meeting." Zhang Danfeng took out a long and narrow box with a red silk section from the trunk of the car and walked to his 3rd uncle. Zhang Qingji didn't take it to heart and asked again, "What did you buy for the old man this time?" "Oh, I bought a painting of Shirtao's waning lotus, water and birds from the Christie's autumn auction. I spent more than 8 million, Zhang Danfeng said nonchalantly, as if he had made a huge profit by spending 8 million. "Shirtao's painting? You still understand the old man's thoughts. The old man will definitely like it. Zhang Qingji patted his shoulder. Seeing his uneasy expression, he gave him a cigarette and helped him light it up. He asked, "Did something big happen for the family meeting to be held so late?" Zhang Damfeng took a deep breath and said with a grave expression, "It's not the annual family meeting. I heard from my father that something big happened in the Bai family." Even the old man was alarmed. Something happened to the Bai family? How is that possible? Zhang Qingji's eyes almost popped out. He frowned and said, "What happened? Did the old master die? This is a big matter. It should be bigger than this." Zhang Damfeng shook his head and said, "I don't know the details. Last night, my father rushed to the Bai family to help. When he came back in the morning, he was in a daze. He kept muttering, 'The sky is falling, and the sky is falling.' He didn't even eat before rushing to the old house. When he went out, his leg tripped on the door and he fell hard. He fractured his leg. I told him to go to the hospital, but he refused." Zhang Qingji wanted to laugh when he heard that. But at the same time, he was also more curious. Big Brother was the third in command in Beijing, and the significance and value of being the third in command in the capital was extraordinary. In the outside world, he could be in charge of a province and could be called a governor of the border. In the family, his eldest brother was also the most outstanding in his generation. After the old man retired, the entire family relied on him. What kind of situation had his eldest brother not seen before? Last year, several leaders of the group were taken away by the Commission for Discipline Inspection. However, his eldest brother was still as calm as ever. He even snored thunderously in his sleep. In the end, he was still able to talk and laugh. But now he was so scared that he even said that the sky was falling. It was really strange. "Uncle Fu, what did the old man and eldest brother talk about?" As the two of them chatted, an old man rushed into the courtyard. Zhang Qingji immediately handed the teacup to an assistant and quickly went up. He cupped his hands and asked, "They're still not out yet. I've been here since the afternoon, and I've been waiting for half a day. Damn, that 1 billion processing contract has gone down the drain." Uncle Fu was the only person in the Zhang family who had a cultivation. He was a martial Dao master. Logically speaking, for a secular family like the Zhang family, it was extremely difficult to recruit and retain a martial Dao master. However, Uncle Fu was chased by his enemies in the early stage of liberation, and was seriously injured. He was rescued by Zhang Jinghua's father, and followed the Zhang family since then. In the Zhang family, Uncle Fu's status was very high. He and Zhang Jinghua called each other brothers. As for Zhang Danfeng and the others, they had to call him Grandpa. Uncle Fu pondered for a long time with a solemn face. Perhaps he felt that this secret was about to be revealed, so he said something shocking. "The Bai family has been destroyed." Clang. Zhang Qingji just took the teacup from his assistant. Before he could take a sip, it fell to the ground and shattered. He felt his legs go soft and said with a trembling voice, "What? The Bai family has been destroyed? This is really the sky is falling." Previously, he felt that his elder brother's reaction was a bit excessive. But now he felt that it was not exaggerated at all. On the other hand, Zhang Danfeng was calmer. At least he could still maintain a calm appearance. He frowned and asked with a solemn face, "Did the higher-ups do it?" Even the higher-ups wouldn't do it so cleanly. To destroy the Bai family in one night, forget it. Let's go in for the meeting and talk together. The old man should be coming out now. Let's see if he has any instructions. Uncle Fu suggested. At this time, a family member reported that the old man had come out and asked everyone to gather in the meeting room. The meeting room was very elegant and antique. It had rosewood and mahogany furniture from the Ming and Qing dynasties. The antique shelves were filled with all kinds of strange stones, porcelain, incense burners, auspicious stone carvings, and so on. Every one of them was worth a lot. There were landscape paintings hanging on the wall. They were all the works of famous artists. They were not replicas and had a sense of history. In fact, the history of the Zhang family was only a few decades. Zhang Jinghua was the second generation, and Zhang Danfeng was the second generation. It couldn't be compared with the 300-year-old Bai family at all. This old house was not the ancestral home of the Zhang family. but the courtyard of a master Beilu in the Qing dynasty. Zhang Damfeng bought it for 200 million yuan to make the Zhang family look good. Everyone entered the meeting room and sat down according to their seniority. Zhang Damfeng saw that his father, Zhang Zhonghua, was in a daze. There was even a hint of fear in his eyes. The old man, Zhang Jinghua, was sitting on the mahogany sofa. He was 70 years old. His hair was white and his wrinkles were deep. He looked dignified without being angry. He was like a patriarch in the feudal era. Chapter 489. Next to him sat an old lady with a head full of silver hair. She was wearing a cheongsam and had a fair complexion. Around her neck was a beautiful glass-type jade necklace. She looked graceful and luxurious, but also dignified. Uncle Fu, on the other hand, was sitting below the two of them. His status was much higher than Zhang Zhonghua, Zhang Chenggong and Zhang Qingji. Dad, Mom, everyone is here. The second son, Zhang Chenggong, stood up and bowed before he sat down again. He was the CEO of his family's company, Dexin Consulting, and had a certain amount of influence in Yanjin's business intelligence and data analysis. Because of the convenience of his job, he was also the most well-informed and was in charge of the family's intelligence gathering. Then let's begin the meeting. Zhang Jinghua coughed and cleared his throat. He glanced at everyone and said, "We've received reliable news that the Bai family has indeed been destroyed." What? The Bai family is really gone? Everyone in the audience cried out in surprise, their eyes filled with shock. A girl in a business suit with exquisite makeup asked, "What about the Bai Corporation? What about Bai Xiaoyi?" Her name was Zhang Yue, and she was second only to Zhang Damfeng in Zhang Yilin's generation. She graduated from Huaqing University's business school and went on to study finance at London Business School. After returning to China with a master's degree in finance, she became the head of the strategic investment department of the Chuangdu Group, which had assets of over 100 billion yuan under the control of the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission of Yanjin. With such a salary, she could be said to be the king of working people in 2009. However, she was not as good as the Zhang families. One had to know that most of the children of such a big family would choose to start their own business. After all, being a professional manager would only benefit others. However, Zhang Yue was not limited to that. With her help, the Zhang family's Zhang Corporation acquired 5% of the Chuangdu Group shares and became the fifth largest private shareholder. This was also the Zhang family's most successful investment. She was so nervous and sensitive because Bai Xiaoyi was the second largest shareholder of the Chuangdu Group after the State-Owned Asset Supervision and Administration Commission of Yanjin. Bai Xiaoyi was also the senior CEO of the Chuangdu Group. If something happened to the Bai Corporation, it would cause a huge personnel change in the Chuangdu Group. According to my sources, the Bai Corporation has changed hands. Zhang Chenggong opened his mouth with difficulty. The Bai family sold 20% of their shares to the person who defeated the Bai family. I heard that it was a symbolic price of 100 million yuan. 100 million? 20% of the shares was worth almost 200 billion. Wasn't this equivalent to giving it away for free? How is this possible? Zhang Youwei's face changed drastically, a look of disbelief on her face. The equity structure of the Bai Group was extremely complicated. Hundreds of companies held cross shares and reverse shares. The equity structure chart was like a maze that could make people dizzy. However, Zhang Yue was a top student in corporate governance and had a lot of information. She had spent a lot of effort to study their shareholding structure and knew the real situation of their assets. It could be said that in the eyes of a professional like her, Huaxia's rich list was like a joke. The wealth of the rich people on the list could not be compared to the wealth of the Bai family at all. He also understood that if those tycoons were the big fish fighting in the business sea, then the Bai Group was the great white shark and giant whale that truly sank to the bottom of the sea. However, the giant shark was swallowed instead, and the giant whale was hunted down. In her opinion, this was an impossible task. If the Bai clan doesn't back down like this, I'm afraid that person's entire clan will be exterminated. Not even a chicken or a dog will be spared. Zhang Jinghua let out a long sigh. There was even a hint of fear in his eyes. Grandpa, are you kidding? This is a society ruled by law, exterminating an entire clan. This time, Zhang Yue smiled in disbelief. She had received the most advanced modern business education, and believed in the law, contracts, the spirit of contracts, business logic, fiduciary responsibility. If these words didn't come out of her grandpa's mouth, she would even think that he was crazy and crazy. Among them, the fourth-generation members in the room almost all had the same expression. However, they were inferior and didn't dare to ask questions. Only Zhang Danfeng's eyes flashed with a hint of sharpness. He said in a deep voice, "Grandpa, is the enemy of the Bai clan that kind of person?" Zhang Jinghua nodded with satisfaction. He thought that Danfeng had a broader vision. Then he said earnestly, "The Zhang clan's long-term strategy has been to build a good relationship with the 7 top families in Yanjin, especially the Bai clan. Maybe you have always been confused. Where did the power of the 7 families come from? Why can their power not be afraid of the change of dynasties and become bigger and bigger? Why can their families not be afraid of the wind and rain of history and not fall for hundreds of years? I think I should tell you now." A hint of seriousness flashed across everyone's face. This was because they had never seen Zhang Jinghua look so strange. There was a bit of fear and shock in his eyes, as if he was talking about a ghost. Political families rise and fall with the tide of history, rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, and even perish. Shen Wansan is rich enough to rival a country. Hu Shuiyan is a red-top businessman, but once they offend the bureaucrats or lose political support, they will fall apart and collapse. As for medical families and scholarly families, they are not worth mentioning. But there is a kind of family that has a transcendent status. They are not afraid of the changes in the world, the burning and erosion of the continuous flames of war, and the renewal of the dynasty's power. This kind of family is a martial arts family, or a cultivation family. Martial arts? What is that? Is it the same as Uncle Fu's cultivation? Uncle Fu is a martial artist and a martial arts master, an expert. Then we are also a martial arts family. Everyone turned to look at Fu Bo, and the young men began to discuss among themselves. They had seen Uncle Fu lift a few hundred kilograms of stone and break a tree when he was 60 years old. That's right, Uncle Fu is a martial artist. He is an internal force cultivator and can be called a master. But we are still too far away from being a martial arts family. Zhang Jinghua looked at Uncle Fu with emotion. His eyes were filled with gratitude. All these years, without Uncle Fu holding the fort, the Zhang family would never have been able to survive those terrifying crises. Uncle Fu smiled bitterly and shook his head. "I am a martial artist, but I am definitely not an expert. The path of martial arts is divided into 4 levels: iron body, internal force, transcendent state, and immortal state." Uncle Fu was old and liked to chat with young people, so he immediately said, "Iron body. The body is like hard stone and fine iron, able to withstand 1 or 2 cold weapon attacks. Internal force is at my level. It has infinite strength and can produce internal force, so it can hurt people through objects." A hint of admiration and yearning flashed in his eyes. "The transcendent state is the grandmaster of martial arts. That's awesome. They can release true qi and condense it into swords and knives. They can hurt people from 100 meters away. They can walk on water and cultivate qi into righteousness, so they are not afraid of hot weapons. Not even bullets can kill them. Not even bullets can kill them. Are they still human? They are definitely not human. They are more like Superman." Everyone cried out in surprise, as if they were listening to a heavenly book. Their eyes were wide open, unable to believe what they were hearing. That's right. They are not much different from Superman. Uncle Fu's face was unprecedentedly serious. He said, "You must have heard of the Battle Dragon Special Forces, right? They are the most powerful special forces under the command of the General Staff. Even his chief instructor has the rank of Major General, but this level of cultivation is enough. Oh my God! A Grandmaster of Martial Arts is equivalent to a Major General." Many of the disciples present exclaimed. A major general was equivalent to the deputy commander of the provincial military region. Even Zhang Zhonghua, the highest-ranking official in the family, was suppressed by him. A grandmaster of martial arts is rare. There are only a few hundred of them in Wuxia. If you exclude those who have hidden themselves from the world, there might be even fewer of them. Uncle Fu smiled amiably and said, "A family can only be called a martial arts family if it has one or a few transcendent grandmasters at the helm. If we call ourselves a martial arts family, not only will we be laughed at by others, but there will also be strange people who can't stand the sight of us coming to challenge us. If that happens, we will be met with disaster. Are all the people in the 7 major families like that?" Someone exclaimed. "Can a martial arts family really kill people?" Zhang Yue asked incredulously. "Every circle has its own rules. Martial arts masters have the power to destroy the world. They are not something the police can deal with. As long as their fights don't endanger the order of the mortal world, the government won't interfere," Uncle Fu said. "What about the immortal state?" "Uncle Fu, you haven't told us yet," someone asked. "Immortal state? That's almost the same as a real god." Uncle Fu's eyes were filled with complicated emotions. He said with a trembling voice, "Their soul energy can interfere with reality, drive the power of heaven and earth, control thunder and lightning, cut mountains with their swords, and crack the earth with their feet. Their bodies are extremely strong. They can withstand the bombardment of heavy weapons one or several times. They can even defeat an army and kill generals." Hiss. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone gasped. Many people were shocked, and their worldview was turned upside down. If these words didn't come out of Fu Bo's mouth, who had always been mature and prudent and never boasted, they would definitely think that these words were nonsense, and that he was making up a story. Zhang Jinghua heaved a sigh and said, "The 7 major families of Yanjin are all like this. They all have several grandmasters of the transcendent state. The Bai family even has an immortal state warrior. That's why we have to work hard to befriend them." "Grandpa, you just said that the Bai family was destroyed. Uncle Fu, who did it?" Zhang Danfeng asked a key question. Everyone turned to look at Uncle Fu. This was also the question that everyone was concerned about. Uncle Fu said slowly, "I've been visiting friends for the past few days to find out more about this. Now I've found out. This man is called Kong Teichu." "Who is Kong Teichu? Who is he? Is he a white-bearded grandpa?" everyone asked curiously. Chapter 490. No, he is not old. He is only in his early 20s, but he has already reached the immortal state. Uncle Fu's eyes were filled with admiration as he exclaimed, "He is the most powerful martial artist in Wuxia in the last 2 years. He is known as the most powerful martial artist in Wuxia." This man rose from the Lingnan region, and is known as the Master Kong of Jiangbei. He had killed Lin Zhenyu and many other grandmasters. Wang Chongyan, the Grand Preceptor of Singapore, was the reigning Grand Preceptor of Singapore. Even President Li Xianlong was his disciple. After that, he killed the founder of Russia's winter soldiers, Qiao Bin, went to South Korea to save Tan Yong's family, drank with the South Korean president, and even went to Japan to kill Japan's Sakura Festival's #1 expert, Miyamoto Genichi. Dahuan, the most powerful martial arts organization in Wuxia. Zhang Damfeng had heard about it and asked in shock, "Didn't the Dahuan seek revenge? I heard that they are worth trillions of dollars. How could they not seek revenge?" Uncle Fu shook his head and sighed. "I heard that they had sent out over 100 martial artists, but they were all killed by Master Kong in a single night. Now the Dahuan is scared to death by Kong Teichu's ferocious battle record. What is Tan Jun's family? Why can he drink with the president of South Korea after saving them? What is the Cherry Blossom Society?" someone asked. The Cherry Blossom Society is the largest martial arts organization in Japan. It is like the long formation of Wuxia. It is the last trump card of the country, and its status is much higher than the special forces under the command of the general staff. Miyamoto Genichi could drink with the emperor in Japan, and even the prime minister had to greet him as a disciple. Uncle Fu said with a serious face, "I heard that when Kong Teichu was in Japan, the The Prime Minister and the Mitsui family worshipped him as if he was a god. When he left Japan, they even sent him off 10 miles away. One man can crush an entire country. One man can crush an entire country. Oh my God. That's too scary. Cries of surprise rang out incessantly. Everyone's worldview had completely collapsed on this night. Before this, all of them thought highly of themselves, and they considered themselves to be the daughters of young masters, and were immensely complacent. But at this moment, when they were compared to an extraordinary strength like Jiang Taichu, they noticed that they were like caterpillars beneath the feet of a god. The more they asked, the more shocked they became. They felt that this person was like a god from the heavens, terrifying and high above. Zhang Zhonghua still had a lingering fear in his heart. Last night, the two ancestors of the Bai family, Bai Tianlei and Hao Hongmei, were killed. In addition, there were also Bai Xiaoyi, Bai Jingting, Bai Zhilan and other children. In the morning, the police helped them collect the corpses. The scene was too tragic. The entire Xianglu Peak was almost blown up. The surrounding few kilometers were a mess. A few tons of rocks were smashed by their palms, as if they were bombarded by cannons. Incense Burner Peak is about to explode? Is this the power of a human? Everyone was sweating profusely. They felt that what Zhang Zhonghua said was like a legend. What? Bai Xiaoyi was killed? The Bai family won't let this go. Zhang Youwei's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Her face was as pale as a sheet of paper as she exclaimed in shock. Bai Xiaoyi was very resourceful and had a broad vision. In the business circle of Yanjin, he had great influence and could even drink with the mayor and the secretary of the city committee. Zhang Youwei and Zhang Danfeng usually saw him like a believer seeing a god. They felt that he was superior and far away from them. No, it should be said that it was difficult for them to even meet Bai Xiaoyi. The leaders of the major families called it a war of gods, and it hasn't happened in the past 100 years. Even the military didn't listen to it, and sent the Wei Rong to guard it. I was slapped in the face when I tried to negotiate with them. Zhang Zhonghua said with a trembling voice. Even the Wei Rong army has been mobilized. This battle is clearly of a high level. It is truly a battle between immortals. When everyone heard this, they all nodded. Thinking of that terrifying destructive power and the importance that the officials attached to it, they really felt that Grandmaster Jiang and the people from the Bai family who had participated in the battle were like gods. Yue, your train of thought is wrong. Bai Xiaoyi might be a young prodigy in your eyes, but he has no talent and can't cultivate. In a martial arts family like the Bai family, he is the least valued member. Uncle Fu looked at Zhang Yue and interrupted. Bai Diqing, Bai Jingting, and Bai Zhilan are the real seedlings of the Bai family. They are all transcendent state cultivators at a young age, but they are much more powerful than the old man. In the Bai family, even Bai Xiaoyi had to be courteous when she saw them, and even had to kowtow. On the other hand, Bai Tianlei and his wife were the Bai family's final trump card and the Bai family's biggest backer. But now, what? Bai Xiaoyi is the least valued member of the Bai family? Zhang Youwei's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't think straight, and her mind was in a mess. It turned out that the high and mighty Bai Xiaoyi in her eyes was actually just a lowly disciple in the Bai clan. However, Kong Taichu was able to escape unscathed after killing so many top young masters. It was terrifying. Zhang Guozhong was absent-minded as he rambled on. I also saw Bai Diqing. A 30-year-old lad has turned into an old man who can't even walk. It's said that Grandmaster Jiang sucked out all of his cultivation and took away several decades of his lifespan. Oh my God, lifespan. Turning into an old man, this Grandmaster Jiang is really a deity. Bai Diqing. He is the most powerful young master in Yanjin. Everyone exclaimed in fear. Some people's legs even turned to jelly as they felt that the world was too unstable. Also, even Chen Qingshan was killed. What? Young Master Zifen's father was killed? Even the Chen family didn't dare to fight back? Zhang Danfeng was drenched in cold sweat, fear in his eyes, and a chill ran down his spine. This Grandmaster Jiang was simply too terrifying. He was simply like a god. He was definitely not to be trifled with. Fight back. Uncle Fu knew that they were all flowers that grew up in a greenhouse, so he wasn't worried about their inability to accept this new world view. He explained patiently. In the martial arts world, the fist is the law. Kang Taechu has killed all the masters of the Bai family, robbed them of their property, and expelled them from Wuxia. They don't have the strength to fight back. I'm scared to death. He looked a little fascinated and said with deep emotion. From now on, Kang Taechu is the most powerful master in Wuxia. The most powerful person in Wuxia. Even the Government Affairs Council and the Supreme General Staff have to work hard to get on his good side. Just as everyone was whispering to each other, discussing animatedly, Zhang Jinghua said with a serious face, all these years we have worked hard to get on the good side of the Bai family and the other 7 families. But this time, not only will all our previous efforts be wasted, we will even face a disaster. As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked and asked involuntarily, why? Uncle Fu's face showed deep fear, and he said in a trembling voice, Kang Taechu is decisive and ruthless. He will kill people and destroy families at the slightest provocation. After he expelled the Bai family from Wuxia, his next step is likely to be to eliminate their henchmen. And the Zhang family is likely to be on his blacklist. If a peerless master like Kang Taechu attacks the Zhang family, hearing this, everyone shuddered from head to toe. They were so shocked that their souls almost left their bodies, and their faces changed drastically. The Zhang family was a big family in the secular world, and could be ranked in the top 20 in Yanjing. But compared to the Bai family, they were like a nest of ants. Jiang Taichu, on the other hand, could even destroy the Bai family and suppress the other 7 families. He was like a fierce god from the primordial era. If he made a move against the Zhang family, to put it bluntly, he could crush the Zhang family with a single finger. Sigh, uncle and big brother have worked for nothing these years. It's better not to do it. Some disciples shook their heads and sighed. Yeah, big brother seems to be close to Chen Zifen. Uncle is also a hardcore supporter of the White Emperor City. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone looked at Zhang Zhonghua and Zhang Danfeng as if avoiding snakes and scorpions, and they shook their heads and sighed. Then the old lady with silver hair said, Boss, Zhonghua's family's achievements can't be erased. This was an accident. Who would have thought that the Bai family would suddenly be destroyed? Now we need to come up with a plan. Let's not talk about the past anymore. Yeah, Grandma is right. We need to be friendly with Kang Taechu as soon as possible. Otherwise, the Zhang family will be in danger. Zhang Danfeng's face was solemn as sweat appeared on his face. Yes, Kang Taechu has just arrived in Yanjing. The situation is not stable, and he needs the support of the secular families. Zhang Jinghua's eyes flashed and said, if we can build a good relationship with Kang Taechu, we can even turn the crisis into an opportunity. Zhang Zhonghua looked at Uncle Fu and said with a frown, it's just that Jiang Taichu is a godlike figure. How are we going to make friends with him? Spend money, Uncle Fu said concisely. Money? Kang Taechu is an overlord. Do you think he likes money? Everyone was in disbelief. You might not know this, but the poor can study and the rich can practice martial arts. A martial artist's cultivation is inseparable from cultivation resources, and these cultivation resources are priceless. They require a lot of money to buy, Uncle Fu said with a smile. How much is that? Zhang Yue asked. That's a lot. Fu Bo picked up his teacup and took a sip. Then he said something shocking. 2 or 3 billion can only buy the Zhang family's safety and appease Master Kang's anger, but it won't leave a deep impression on Kang Taechu. If you want Kang Taechu to think highly of the Zhang family, you will need at least 10 billion. That much? Zhang Yue exclaimed. Everyone's face changed color. 10 billion. Half of the Zhang family's assets would be given away. Yue, you don't know, but when I broke through from the iron body state to the internal force, I bought a strength condensing pill for 90 million. The strength condensing pill is considered a low-grade cultivation resource. Most of the pills cost more than 100 million. Uncle Fu lamented. If you want to build a transcendent master with cultivation resources, you will need at least 1 billion. This is also the reason why many martial arts families are involved in the secular world. They need money. They need cultivation resources. Everyone was dumbfounded. Uncle Fu had once spent 90 million on an elixir, but it was a mediocre elixir. It took 1 billion to produce a transcendent grandmaster. It was a shocking fact. Chapter 491. Don't use your standards to measure martial artists. They are a hidden force and also the greatest force. Every martial artist is a hidden millionaire. Uncle Fu said earnestly. Kong Teichu took over the Bai family's property. That's 200 billion. If you give him billions, will he value it? Everyone suddenly realized that compared to these martial arts families, the Zhang family was too poor. They were like beggars on the street. That's true. But the current liquid funds in the family account is only 1 billion. Zhang Chengfeng said with a frown. Zhang Chenggong frowned and said, according to Uncle Fu, I'm afraid we can't even buy the safety of the Zhang clan. Yes, even if we sell our shares and other assets, it will be difficult to raise 10 billion in a short time. Zhang Yue nodded, her eyebrows knitted. Although these large families had huge assets, most of them were fixed assets. They didn't have much liquid funds. Zhang Danfeng frowned and pondered for a long time before he said tentatively, Aunt, Zhang Wanqing's Medicine King Group has been developing well in the past 2 years. Its market value is 100 billion, and its liquid funds are abundant. Can we? TSK, Jinling's Jiang family. When he said this, everyone's expression was a little strange. It turned out that the Zhang family looked down on the Jinling Jiang family. The head of the Jinling Jiang family, Jiang Changding, was just a specialist in the Su Province Health Committee. To put it bluntly, he was just a doctor. When Jiang Zhixing and Zhang Wanqing got married, he was just a civil servant in Qixia County. In the eyes of the Zhang family, he was not worth mentioning. Even when the Jinling Jiang family built the Medicine King Group and reached a certain scale, it was only a few billion in assets. It was not in the same order of magnitude as the Zhang family. In their eyes, the Jiang family was just a poor family in the countryside. The Jiang family was not even worthy of being the Zhang family's relatives. Moreover, since more than 10 years ago, Jiang Tian and his wife brought Jiang Zhixing to the Zhang family as a guest. After some unpleasantness, the two families had not interacted with each other, and their relationship was not good. This made the Zhang family look down on Zhang Wanqing's family even more. After Jiang Tian caused a huge conflict because of the Song family's annulment of the engagement, the Zhang family announced that Zhang Wanqing and the Jiang family had severed ties. When the 3 major families of Jinling were fighting over the shares of the Jiang family of Jinling, the Zhang family chose to watch from the sidelines. They even gloated. Zhang Jinghua and his wife also strictly ordered everyone in the Zhang family not to help the Jiang family privately. They wanted to force Jiang Zhixing and his wife to lower their heads and go to the Zhang family to ask for help. The 4th son of the Zhang family, who was also Zhang Yilin's father, was directly expelled from the core of the family and stripped of all his positions because of his private use of funds to raise the stock price of the Medicine King Group. However, what they did not expect was that the Jiang family of Jinling had continuously released a series of new products and defeated the sniping of the 3 major families of Jinling. Their stock price and market value had risen steadily, and they had actually become Huaxia's #1 pharmaceutical company. It turned out to be the Zhang Group, which had caught up from behind and suppressed the Zhang family. Thinking of all this, many of the people present couldn't help but feel jealous. It felt as if their poor relatives from the countryside had suddenly turned into rich people. The 3rd son, Zhang Qingji, shook his head and said, I'm afraid that won't work. That girl, Wanqing, has always disliked our Zhang family. The relationship between the 2 families has never been good. How could she agree to borrow money from us now? Humph, that crazy girl. If it weren't for our kindness in raising her, how could she be where she is today? The old lady, Su Shulan, frowned and snorted coldly. What borrow money? Just ask her to take out 10 billion. We won't return it. Otherwise, she'll never be able to enter the Zhang family's door in the future. Su Shulan had a deep prejudice against Zhang Wanqing. She was born in a big family in the Republic of China, and she valued the family style and the authority of her parents the most. However, Zhang Wanqing actually disobeyed the family's arrangements and privately promised to marry Jiang Zhixing. She even married him with a child. It was simply a disgrace to the Zhang family. 10 billion is not a small amount. Will third aunt agree? Zhang Yue asked hesitantly. So what if the Jiang family is rich? They don't have power. Jiang Zhixing is just a small cadre at the deputy department level now. Su Shulan's face was full of disdain, but she was quite knowledgeable. She hit the nail on the head. The Jiang family's political background doesn't match the scale of their business at all. If those top families want to tear the Medicine King group apart and divide it up, it's just a matter of lifting a finger. If she's smart, she should hurry up and lean on the Zhang family. Because we have more political resources. Grandma, you're right. Zhang Damfeng nodded in agreement. The Suzhou Ironworks Group is powerful, isn't it? It's the #1 private steel company with a market value of 150 billion. However, it was still seized by a few influential people in Yanjin and crushed in minutes. Now their chairman is still eating cornbread in prison. Yes, Brother Danfeng is right. The Medicine King Group is developing well now, but it needs political protection. The Jiang family has experienced the last share battle. They should understand the need to have a good relationship with the government. And this time, they are trying to curry favor with Master Kong. Although it will bring benefits to the Zhang family, the Jiang family will also be able to curry favor with Master Kong. They will definitely be willing to spend the money. Everyone was whispering to each other. They all thought that Zhang Wanqing would agree to this condition. Boss, you should contact Wanqing as soon as possible and ask them to come to Yanjin for the Spring Festival. Finally, Zhang Jinghua made the final decision. Zhang Zhonghua nodded and asked tentatively, Dad, have you found the Vitality Jade Talisman? I heard that martial artists like to collect this kind of Dharma artifact. They say it's good for cultivation. I haven't found it. There's a thief. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Humph. Zhang Jinghua's face suddenly turned cold. He snorted and announced the end of the meeting. While many powerful families in Yanjin were shocked like the Zhang family, Jiang Tian was listening to Chen Zifen's report in Yuhua Mountain Villa. Originally, Jiang Tian thought that this person was very cunning and should be eliminated. However, since the Bai family was eliminated, Chen Zifen would be intimidated and would not dare to act rashly. In the face of absolute strength, all schemes were nothing more than trash. Now the Bai family is gone. Go away. Master Kong, from now on, Yanjin belongs to you. Why don't you establish your own family? You will be the leader of the adjudicators. Chen Zifen nodded and wagged his tail. After Chen Qingshan's death, Chen Zifen immediately turned to Jiang Tian and said that he would help Jiang Tian collect the Bai family's assets. Jiang Tian knew that this guy was vicious and ruthless. He had the temperament of a vicious dog and a cunning fox, so he agreed. Chen Zifen did not expect this guy to be so capable. Everything was done properly. After establishing a relationship with Jiang Tian, Chen Zifen, with the support of many family heads, actually became the Chen family's family head in an instant. I will not establish a martial arts family. If I don't announce it, I will not be the adjudicator anymore. Jiang Tian snorted and sipped his tea. The adjudicator family was originally formed to suppress Hongmeng and Yi Zhantian's Huaxiaolong formation. If Jiang Tian established a new adjudicator family, it would only make things difficult for Yi Zhantian. Besides, what was the point of establishing such a name? Even if he did not establish it, he had already established his power by eliminating the Bai family. In Huaxia's martial arts world, his words were already undisputed. Yes. After defeating the Bai family, Master Kong will be the #1 martial artist in the world. Who would dare to disagree? Chen Zifen flattered Chen Zifen. Then he changed the topic and said with a flattering face. However, the other 5 family heads have always wanted to meet you. They have been waiting outside the villa for a long time. They also brought many valuable gifts, many of which are rare cultivation resources. Grandmaster Jiang, would you like to meet him? Keep the cultivation resources for me, but I won't see them for now. Jiang Tian waved his hand and said lightly. Why? Chen Zifen asked anxiously. Ever since he started working for Master Kong, his status had skyrocketed. Even Qin Zhong's uncles had to be courteous to him. He had also received a lot of benefits when he arranged for everyone to meet with Master Kong. He quickly said, "Master Kong, they sincerely want to pledge their allegiance to you. Their loyalty to you far surpasses that of Bai Tianlei and his wife. Besides, a single tree cannot make a forest. You also need the support of your subordinates, right?" "I am going back to Jinlin City." "Back to Jinlin City." Chen Zifen was startled. He then said anxiously, "It's not easy to become famous in Yanjin, so I have to take the opportunity to gather all the forces in Yanjin. Besides, there is a dragon marrow spirit vein here, which is perfect for your cultivation." He didn't want Jiang Tian to leave. It wasn't easy to become Master Kang's lackey, so he had to continue to perform well. "Old Ghost is dead. I want to hold a funeral for him," Jiang Tian said and walked into the room where Huang Linger was. He cast an invisibility talisman on himself and Huang Linger. Then he took Huang Linger on the flying sword and flew away. "Who is Old Ghost?" Chen Zifen was confused. When he walked out of the Yuhua villa, Qin Zhong and the others hurried to greet him and asked, "Family head Qin, where is Master Kong?" Other than the 5 family heads, there were dozens of people in the group that came to meet Jiang Tian. Many of them were tycoons in the business world. However, any one of these tycoons was very important and could be ranked in the top dozens of the richest people in China. However, at this time, they were standing respectfully behind the heads of the various families. Perhaps they were under their protection, or perhaps they were directly supported by their agents. Master Kong has something important to do. He has to go back to Jinlin City. Chen Zifen was full of arrogance and did not mince his words. He was pleased. After all, he was Master Kang's #1 lackey in Yanjin. "What is it? Do you need our help?" Qin Zhong, Lin Fengmian and the other family heads asked curiously. "Master Kong is going to hold a funeral for Old Ghost." Chen Zifen didn't know who Old Ghost was, so he could only say so. "Old Ghost? Ghost Kick? I heard that he was Master Kang's servant and was killed by the Gu God sect." Lin Fengmian suddenly realized something. That a servant? The patriarchs present all felt bitter and sour in their hearts. Master Kong was born with a pair of dragon's eyes. In his eyes, the 5 mountain ridges were winding like thin waves, and the dark mist was majestic like mud balls. He had the spirit of climbing Mount Tai and seeing the small world. In his eyes, the other family heads in Wuxia weren't as important as his servant. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.